On a rainy day in one of the Chinese cities, a mother was walking while carrying her baby, trying to escape from people who were chasing her. She stopped in a small corner and began to sing to her child to calm him down so he wouldn't feel afraid or anxious. Suddenly, a woman who lived nearby heard her and approached the mother. She suggested that she come inside her home to protect the child from the rain and prevent him from getting sick. The mother looked at the woman, then handed her the baby and said, "Take him inside for a moment. I'll just go buy him some medicine and come right back." Before leaving, she placed a coconut-shaped pendant around the child's neck, and then she completely disappeared. The woman tried to look for her, but she was nowhere to be found. Years passed, and the boy grew up. He was named Shu. 18 years later, Shu was walking with his adoptive sister through a local festival in their town. As they walked, Shu overheard talk about people who had recently developed supernatural powers, and their numbers were increasing rapidly. He soon saw a large crowd watching a man performing with fire. It looked like he had superpowers. Shu and his sister got closer to get a better view of the performance. The moment Shu saw the performer's powers, he suddenly felt as if time had stopped. No one was moving anymore. Then, in a strange twist, Shu was transported to a place in outer space where he saw a sword floating in the air. At the same time, the pendant around his neck began to glow for a few seconds. Then, everything vanished. Shu returned to the present moment and stared in amazement at the magician in front of him. He thought to himself, "There's no way this is a normal person. This must be a supernatural power." After the fire show ended, Shu's sister said, "That was incredible. Let's go backstage. Maybe we can find out how he did it and try to learn from him." Shu agreed, and they both snuck behind the scenes. When they arrived, they witnessed a group of people drugging the performer. He collapsed unconscious in front of them. Shu's sister panicked and screamed, which alerted the group, but Shu quickly stepped forward and said, "Oh, where's the bathroom? We were just looking for it and got lost." The group replied, "Are you kidding? This isn't a bathroom. And by the way, we're the police, and we're interrogating this man." Shu responded calmly, "Okay, understood," and walked away with his sister. But as he walked, he kept thinking about what had just happened. He said to himself, "That man definitely used his power during the show, and these people must be trying to capture him." Later, Shu asked his sister, "What do you think of these people with newly awakened powers?" She answered, "I know they're strong, but once my power awakens, I'll be stronger than all of them, and I'll crush them. I know, Shu, that even if your power appears, it'll be very weak, just like you. But don't worry, I'll protect you. After all, you're my personal chef." Shu was stunned by her words, then simply replied with a smile, "All right." After that, they returned home, and there Shu met the woman who had raised him when he was a child. He greeted her warmly, then went inside. Lu was sitting and watching news about people who had recently developed supernatural powers. Shu went to prepare something for her, but he realized they were out of pasta, so he decided to go out and buy some. As he walked down the street, memories from his childhood flooded his mind. How no one ever stood by him except Lu. Even when he was sick, she was the only one who visited him. She had even escaped from the orphanage just to live with him in his house. Lost in thought, Shu didn't notice a speeding car coming his way. It struck him, sending him crashing to the ground. Blood spilled from his head and body. It looked like the end. But suddenly something strange happened. The pendant around his neck began to glow and activate, healing all of his wounds. Moments later, Shu rose into the air, then fell back to the ground. He opened his eyes and said to himself, "How did I get hit by a car and feel no pain at all? Could it be that my supernatural power has awakened? It must be. But still, I can't just let the driver go unpunished." The man who hit him was standing nearby, staring at Shu, thinking he had surely died. But suddenly Shu stood up and acted like a ghost coming for revenge. The man was terrified. Numbers appeared above his head, and he ran off, jumped in his car, and fled the scene. Shu continued on his way to buy pasta. The shopkeeper was shocked to see blood all over Shu's head. Again, strange numbers appeared above the man's head. Shu was even more confused, quickly grabbed the pasta, and rushed home. While running, he bumped into two other people, and just like before, numbers appeared above their heads too. When Shu got home, Lu asked him, "What happened to you?" He replied, "Don't worry about it," then rushed to the bathroom. He checked his body, but there were no wounds or bruises at all. He went to his room and began imagining his power. Suddenly, a strange screen appeared in front of him. It displayed all the points he had collected that day. He said to himself, "Who are these people? I don't know any of them." Then he remembered what had happened, the numbers that appeared over people's heads. That's when he realized, whenever he annoyed or hurt someone, he gained magic points. The more he bothered them, the more points he earned. And with that, his power grew stronger too. Shu was thrilled. He thought, "I'll keep annoying everyone I meet. I'll become the next king of demons. The more I irritate people, the stronger I'll become." He continued exploring the strange screen in front of him. Suddenly, something called the Wheel of Fortune appeared. It could be spun once for every 100 points. He checked his balance. It was 900 points. Nice, he said. That means I have 9 spins. Shu started spinning the Wheel of Fortune once, then twice, but got nothing each time. Just the message. Thank you for participating. On the third spin, however, a magical apple appeared. As soon as Shu ate it, he felt a strange energy surge through his body, as if it were healing all his wounds. Excited, Shu kept spinning the wheel even more until he received a scroll. It had the lyrics of the song his mother used to sing to him when he was a child. He tried singing it while closing his eyes, and suddenly, he felt something unusual happening inside his body. It was like he had been transported into his own power, into another world. There, he found himself competing with his sister, and he noticed that negative points were being counted in front of him. That made him happy, and he decided to annoy her even more to gain more points. After that experience ended, Shu went out to watch a movie, but while watching, he sensed something strange happening outside. He climbed up to the roof of his house to check, only to see the same people he had seen before. Shu tried to hide before they noticed him, but they managed to catch him in the end. One of the men said, "Shu, what are you doing here? Are you part of the gang or what?" Shu replied, "I live here. What are you doing here?" The man was shocked and responded, "There's a dangerous criminal around here. We're chasing him. Stay inside so you don't get into trouble." Shu nodded and went back inside, but he thought to himself, "How did I sense their powers when they didn't sense mine? That must mean my power is stronger than theirs." Suddenly Lu asked him, "What were you doing outside?" Just as he was about to answer, they noticed someone lying on the ground in front of the house. Shu rushed out to check and told Lu to stay inside, but she kept bothering him and giving him negative points until she finally decided to follow him to see who the man was. Shu approached the man and realized it was the same fire performer he had seen before. He said to Lu, "We should call an ambulance and take him inside." But Lu replied, "Unfortunately, the call is too expensive and we can't afford it. Let's just leave him here." Hearing that, the man got upset, and negative points started coming out of him. Shu realized the man was faking being unconscious, so he began irritating him even more to gain extra points. Shu grinned and thought, "At this rate, I'll become the Demon King faster than I ever imagined." Eventually, the man had enough of Shu's bullying and sat up, saying, "I want something to drink. Bring me water." Shu responded sarcastically, "Here's some ice. That's all we've got." The man got angry while Shu was overjoyed. The man tried to ask Lu for help, but Shu knocked him to the ground again and kept provoking him to collect more points. When the man finally lost control, he tried to burn Shu using his fire abilities, but Shu's power activated and extinguished the flames, leaving the man humiliated in front of them. After that, the man tried to burn him again, but it was no use. Shu was thoroughly enjoying watching him angry, especially because of the points he gained from his rage. Eventually, the man lost his patience with them and said, "I'm leaving. I don't want anything from you." Shu replied, "Careful not to fall off another rooftop." This made the man even angrier, and Shu earned more points from him. Shu entered the house with his sister, who asked, "How come you didn't get burned? Could it be that your powers have awakened?" He answered, "I don't know." She replied, "Even if they have, your weak body won't be able to handle them." Shu said, "What are you talking about? By the way, my powers have already awakened." As he was about to leave the room, he told her, "Do my homework before you sleep," earning a few more points from her. Then he went into his room and began exploring his powers. He found an item that could be bought with points, so he purchased it. A strange substance appeared, and he ate it. As soon as he did, he entered his energy realm again, but this time, he saw a distant planet before him and realized he had gained a new power. He returned from his energy field and found that he could now lift his bed with one hand. He left his room and saw Lu watching television, so he sat beside her and opened his class group chat. He started teasing his classmates and earned a lot of points from them. Then Lu asked, "Why haven't they contacted you?" "The group started a while ago," he answered. "Because they know I don't have money. That's why they don't bother talking to me." She told him, "I think you're just trying to take the easy way out." Shu replied, "On the contrary, do you have any idea how much we pay for rent, water, and gas? The money we make barely allows us to survive." Feeling for him, the girl brought him some eggs to sell the next day. It became clear they relied on that as a primary income source. Every morning before school, Shu goes out to sell eggs and earn some money to support them. The next day, he went out and began selling the eggs. An old man beside him asked about Lu, and Shu told him, "She's sick today, so she didn't come." Two of Shu's classmates passed by but pretended not to see him and kept walking. The old man grew angry and asked Shu, "Why didn't they speak to you?" Shu replied, Maybe they're embarrassed because I sell eggs. Nothing more. The old man got upset and said, "What's wrong with earning money? These kids weren't raised properly." Suddenly, the class president approached Sho to harass him and mock him. He said, "Is selling eggs what keeps you alive?" At that moment, Sho understood his intent and calmly replied, "Little by little, I managed to gather my expenses." The boy got annoyed, and Sho earned some points from him. The class president continued, saying, "You better sell all of them quickly, or your reputation will suffer if the school finds out." Sho replied, "If you're really concerned about me, why don't you buy all the eggs? Or, can't you afford it?" The boy answered confidently, "Of course I can." After that, Sho quickly placed all the eggs in one bag and said, "The class president bought all the eggs." There was nothing left in front of him. Everyone in the line got upset, and Sho earned points from all of them. He sold the eggs to the class president in just seconds. Later, Sho returned to the classroom and found a new website had been created to track people who had developed superpowers. That gave Sho an idea to earn more points. He stood up and told everyone, "A new student has awakened a superpower." The entire class got excited and asked, "Who is it?" Sho replied, "The person who sent the message was anonymous, so I don't know who it is." Everyone was shocked and angry, but Sho managed to gain points from all of them. Suddenly, while they were still talking, a student burst into the room and shouted, "Something terrible has happened." Everyone asked, "What is it?" He said, "A student from the upper class has awakened a superpower and started attacking others. He's holding the principal and looks like he's about to throw him off the roof." Hearing that, Sho thought, "This is a great chance to earn more points." He rushed to the scene. On the way, he passed by a girl and sensed she also had a hidden superpower, but she wasn't showing it. Sho reached the rooftop and saw the student holding the principal, seemingly about to throw him off. Everyone around was frozen, not knowing what to do. Then Sho had an idea. He walked up to the student and began giving him a long lecture about the consequences of killing the principal. Everyone was getting bored from how long Sho was talking, but he was gaining a huge number of points in the process. While the student was distracted by Sho's speech, the police managed to capture him, and things went back to normal. Sho returned to his classroom, where he found people waiting. They were there to run tests on the students to find out who had superpowers. Sho tried to escape, but he couldn't. He returned home feeling nervous that something might go wrong. Then, a man approached him, trying to introduce himself, but Sho ignored him, walked past, and earned points from the encounter. When he got home, he found Lu opening the door. She looked extremely sick. Sho helped her to the bed and said, "Rest. I'll go get you some medicine." She replied, "All right." Sho left the room, closed the door, and thought to himself, "I wonder if my fruit can heal Lu or not." He activated his ability and spun the wheel of luck until he got a few small fruits. He went back to Lu and gave her one. After eating it, she quickly got better, and her fever disappeared in seconds. Afterward, Sho teased her a bit to earn more points. The next day, Sho went to school, and the test results had come out. They started calling out the names of students who had superpowers. The first person called was Lee, the same girl Sho had passed by on the stairs. Then they called the class president, and the rest of the list followed. Finally, the last name was read. The teacher read it in disbelief, suspecting the result was fake. That student was Sho, the one who had already earned a crazy amount of points from the entire class after everything that had happened. The next day, a new student arrived at the school and sat next to Sho after the girl who used to sit there left, fed up with his constant teasing. The new student's name was Gia. As soon as he sat down, Sho, as usual, started messing with him to earn some points. He asked, "Has anyone ever confessed their love to you before?" Gia replied, "Yes." Sho added, "I don't mean boys. Has a girl ever confessed to you?" Gia was shocked by the question, and Sho earned some points from him. That evening, the students who had superpowers gathered at the school to train and practice using their abilities. Sho went to the classroom and discovered that the trainer was the same man he had met several times before. The trainer began by asking the students, "Does anyone know the sodium-potassium mixture?" The class president raised his hand, but the teacher ignored him and chose Sho to answer instead. He said, "Go ahead. Answer." Sho responded, "The sodium-potassium mixture. That must be the path to heaven, right?" The teacher became angry and said, "I was wrong to ask you in the first place." Then the teacher explained that this substance represents efficiency, and that anyone whose blood touches the liquid will cause it to change color based on the strength of their superpower. The darker the color, the greater the power. He added, "I'll distribute test tubes to all of you to measure and classify your current level. But know this is only your current strength. Your level will increase with training and effort." After distributing the tubes, the test results came in. Sho received the lowest this result because he had eaten a fruit that drastically weakened his powers. He did it on purpose to keep his true strength hidden. At that point, the class president tried to mock Sho because of his low score, but Sho annoyed him even more with his usual witty remarks, frustrating both him and the others. Later, Sho returned home and activated his ability. A message popped up about a new item added to the Wheel of Luck. He began spinning the wheel and received a new item called tofu. It smelled awful but tasted amazing, if you could get past the smell. When Lu smelled it, she said, "Where did you get that disgusting thing from? Get it away from me." Sho replied, "Would you believe me if I said I won it by chance?" She said, "Definitely not." Sho kept spinning the wheel until he had 50 pieces of tofu. Lu said to him, "Don't you have any juice or anything else?" "All you have is tofu." Sho replied, "That's all we've got." He kept spinning until suddenly a document appeared. He was about to open it, but suddenly, a powerful energy surged into Lu, and time itself froze. A black beam pierced the sky, then their house, and entered Lu's body. In shock, the girl said, "Sho, what's happening? I don't understand anything." He replied, "Close your eyes and focus on your power. Maybe you'll understand." She closed her eyes, and suddenly her star map appeared, meaning her superpower had finally awakened. She was overwhelmed with joy at discovering her new ability. After that, Sho went into his room, thinking of a way to get rid of the tofu he had and make some profit from it. He kept thinking until an idea came to him. He decided to sell it to earn some money, and whoever smelled it and didn't like it would get annoyed, giving Sho negative points to collect. The next day, Sho got ready to sell his tofu. As he left the house, he saw an old man holding a sword, training with it skillfully. He clearly had experience. The old man approached Sho and said, "Do you want to learn this move? Watch this one." But Sho replied, "No," and walked away, leaving the old man shocked. Sho earned some points from him too. Then Sho displayed his tofu for sale. At first, no one wanted to buy it, but once one person tried it and liked it, the crowd gathered, and the tofu sold out in seconds. Sho continued his daily routine, teasing his friends and others to gather points, using those points to unlock new abilities, allowing him to bother people even more and collect even more points. Eventually, he completed all the planets on his star map. At that moment, a new energy and a new weapon appeared, a sword he could summon into the real world and control. Later, Sho returned to his class and found his classmates talking about the recent increase in strange incidents. Then, the student council president said, "What do you think? Should we form a secret group to fight criminals and help the country?" No one paid him much attention, so he tried to annoy Sho instead. But Sho ignored him as well, which frustrated him, and Sho gained more points. That night, during superpower training, the teacher brought them a magical stone and said, "This stone will help you train your star map and make you stronger." Sho was excited and rushed to use the stone, but his star map was already so powerful that it rejected the use of the teacher's stone. So Sho decided to keep annoying people to gain even more power. The next day, the old man was still training, doing flashy sword moves and acrobatics in front of Sho, hoping to impress him and get him to ask for training. But Sho passed by him in the blink of an eye, completely uninterested. Later, at school, the student council president was arm wrestling students, and no one could beat him. He defeated everyone who challenged him. When he saw Sho, he mocked him and said, "What do you say? Want to arm wrestle me with my left hand? It's weaker than the right. Should be a fair match for your weak strength." Sho said, "Deal." They started the match. Sho grabbed his hand and boom, won instantly. Everyone was shocked, and Sho earned a massive number of points from the crowd. Then Sho told him, "My left arm is actually a bit strong. What do you say we try with the right? Maybe you'll have a chance." They played again, this time with the right arm, and Sho won again. The president was even more stunned, and Sho collected more points from him. The class president was furious, but our hero, Sho, didn't stay silent either. He said mockingly, "Can you believe it? My power increased after I held your hand. How is that even possible? You must be my lucky star." The class president grew even angrier, while Sho kept earning more and more points from him. After that, the students went to eat, and Sho followed them carrying tofu, just to annoy them and ruin their day. That's Sho in all his annoying glory. Gia came to Sho and asked him, "How did your power increase?" Sho raised his voice and replied, "It's all thanks to the class president. He's my lucky star today. Just touching his hand boosted my power, and I was able to beat him." Gia said, "Since your power increased, I could tell the teacher. He might give you extra magic stones." Sho asked, "Where does that teacher work?" Gia replied, "He works in the Earth Network." Sho was surprised and asked, "Are there other networks?" Gia said, "Yes, there's also the Sky Network. It's far more powerful than the Earth Network." Sho said, "Alright. Got it." When Sho returned home, he heard people talking outside. He eavesdropped and realized they were from the Sky Network. Their leader went to the old man and offered him a position in the Sky Network, but the old man refused, saying, "I'm not free right now." The leader replied, "Fine, but you should know. The vacant position in the Sky Network is meant for you and no one else." Then they left. Sho, who had been watching from afar, realized the old man had a connection to the Sky Network, so he decided to learn swordsmanship from him. The next day, Sho approached the old man and asked him to train him. The old man was delighted and said, "Come anytime you want." Sho responded, "All right, but I have one condition." The old man asked, "What is it?" Sho said, "I want you to help Lu with her studies. I'm too busy to tutor her myself right now." The old man was irritated, and Lu was even more annoyed. Meanwhile, Sho continued earning points from both of them as usual, and the day ended like that. The next day, Sho was sitting in class when he noticed his points were rising. He was confused at first, then realized it was because of Lu. She was giving the old man a hard time during their lesson, and her power was reacting, helping him earn more points. While leaving class, Sho saw Sai walk past him. She was unusually calm, almost too calm, as if she was hiding something. At the same time, the old man was teaching Lu some math problems. She was exhausted and constantly annoying him. She asked, "When did you learn how to count?" He replied, "Before you were born." Lu said, "So you're 81 years old and I'm 10. If we subtract 10 from 81, that means you spent 71 years not knowing how to count." She was really annoying, dear viewer. The old man became furious, and Sho kept gaining more points. The old man then said to Sho, "I've taught her like you asked. Now let me teach you swordsmanship." Sho replied, "Deal." The old man brought out a set of weights and said, "I want you to wear them gradually, from light to heavy. This glove is the heaviest. It weighs over 300 kilograms. Start slowly until you can handle it." Sho looked at the gear, then picked up the glove with one hand and threw it into the air. He said, "My power's been increasing lately. Let's just start right away." The old man was astonished by Shu and said, "All right, let's begin." Then he grabbed a piece of paper and told him, "I'll teach you that everything can be cut." The old man's energy began to gather intensely around the paper. He then struck the air with such force that it tore through the space entirely. Even the wall in front of them was split in two. After that, the old man threw his sword to Shu so he could train with it. Shu continued his training, and his energy kept increasing. He was learning at an incredible speed and quickly became a sword expert. It seemed this was his true talent. When evening came, the old man said to Shu, "I want to ask you something. When does a person become truly strong?" Shu replied, "When he breaks all the rules." The old man shook his head and said, "No, that's not what I meant. What I mean is, when does a person gain the kind of power that allows him to break the rules?" Shu responded, "I'm not sure. But what I do know is that I want to live a peaceful life and protect my sister. Nothing more." The old man said, "But great power gives you the chance to protect more people and to earn more money." Shu replied, "Even if someone gave me a mission, I wouldn't accept it. I don't want to rely on anyone. Maybe it's because of the way I was raised, but I know that the path of life is tough and requires hard work. And that's why, no matter how hard life gets, I won't give up. I just want to live it my own way, even if that way is wrong." After hearing those words, the old man's admiration for Shu grew even more. He nodded and said, "All right, fair enough." The next day, the old man was teaching Luo some academic exercises. He had brought her some potato chips, which seemed to help her focus and understand the material more quickly, even though she was still just a child. Suddenly, the old man sensed someone from the Sky Network behind him. He went over to stand with him, and it was clear that Luo was annoyed by both of them, which caused Shu to gain more points. Shu was surprised to see someone from the Sky Network there. The person's name was Shure. After that, Shu rushed to the teacher and found him standing with Shure. When Luo saw Shu, she asked, "Shu, what are you doing here now?" He replied, "I forgot something and came back to get it." She said, "All right, I'll go bring it to you," and went inside to retrieve it. Meanwhile, Shure was explaining to the old man the dangers that had started emerging in the country. He asked the old man to join the Sky Network, but the old man refused. After Shure left, the old man handed Shu 2 sodium tubes to check whether his power had increased. Shu used the tubes, and the liquid inside them turned deep black, a sign that his power had reached grade A, one of the highest ranks. Then, the color changed again, indicating that his power had exceeded even grade A. Luo's grade had also risen above A, making it all feel very real. Afterward, Shu went out and buried the efficiency tubes so that no one would find them. At that moment, the old man ran into him and asked about the results, but Shu told him he was still weak as usual. The old man was shocked and walked away. Later, Shu continued training with his star map until he unlocked a new power. an aura that surrounded his body, shielding him from harm and increasing his strength. Inside, Shu thought to himself, I want to know what happened with Luo. At that time, Luo was dreaming about her star map, and she, too, was unlocking a new ability. Shu said to her, use your power now. The girl used her power and summoned an ant from her black hole, telling him that she had started sensing the energy of dead creatures. That ant had died just the day before. After that, our hero took her outside to test her power on other creatures. She summoned a beautiful bird, but he told her that such creatures wouldn't be helpful if she got into a fight, and that they needed to find her something stronger. She asked, what are you thinking? He replied, come with me. I'll get you the best thing to use as a weapon. She said, all right, and went with him. He took her to a pig shop so she could summon a creature that fit her dark energy. She said, do you want me to become the pig girl or what? He laughed and replied, yes, and continued teasing her like usual. They waited until one of the pigs was slaughtered, then returned home. He said, summon your pig now. She replied, okay, and did. Sho tried to check if it was just like a real pig, and in the end, discovered it was. So, he pulled out his sword to see if he could kill it, and he did, in a second. At that moment, Lu was about to finish Sho off, but he told her, I'm sorry, I'll cook dinner for you. So she calmed down and sat to eat with him. While eating, Sho seemed very happy. Thanks to the money he had started earning recently from selling tofu, their living conditions were getting better. He told her, soon, we'll be able to buy this house. No more rent. But suddenly, Sho sensed people with supernatural abilities nearby. He went out to spy on them, and Lu clung to him, insisting on going with him. Don't worry, I won't slow you down, she said. They ran toward the source of the energy to catch up with the events. At the same time, the gang had gathered on a bridge and was preparing to confront the police. Sho and Lu stood watching the battle. One of the policemen was effortlessly deflecting the criminals' attacks. No one could get close to him, but suddenly he lost focus, and one of the criminals charged at him. After realizing his strength, the officer started running to reach his teammates. He did, and another round of fighting began. The criminal was incredibly strong, classified as a 4th-rank threat, meaning he was extremely powerful. He managed to kill 2 officers, then fled with his men. The police began regrouping and planning to trap them. Sho told his sister to return, and he decided to go after the criminals alone. He arrived at a house and found it surrounded by police from all sides. It seemed the gang was hiding inside. One gang member said to the leader, what do you think? Should we surrender? There are too many people outside. We can't take them all on. The boss replied sarcastically, surrender? Are you an idiot? Come with me, I'll protect you. Don't worry about anything. He took the 2 men and stepped out of the house. Immediately the police opened fire from all directions, but the boss used them as a shield. They took the bullets for him. He was a truly wicked creature. The police began chasing after him. One of them threw his sword and managed to pierce his body. They thought that was enough to kill him, but no. The criminal stood back up as if nothing had happened. He looked at them and said, so, are you ready to die? Then suddenly, everyone noticed Sho descending from above. Would you believe me if I told you I came here by accident? He said. The police grew angry, thinking he was one of the criminals, and some of them were ordered to attack him. 2 men charged at full force to kill Sho, but he was incredibly skilled. No one could even touch him. He fought them both with high-level mastery. At the same time, a few police officers began attacking the criminal, and it seemed like they were about to defeat him. But the criminal struck one of them and provoked the other before finishing him off completely. That guy was unbelievably strong. Meanwhile, Sho had already finished off his 2 opponents and stood watching the others. Suddenly, a metal plate beneath his feet came loose, and he fell to the ground. A police officer tried to take advantage of the moment and strike him mid-air, but in the end, he was the one who lost. That left only the criminal and Sho to face off. The criminal looked at Sho and said, your turn to die. But suddenly, Sho powered up and the 2 clashed. Sho's strength was overwhelming, and he managed to defeat the criminal. Sho had proven to be a true master. After the battle, Sho returned home and was met by Lu, who was very worried about him. He reassured her, saying, don't worry, everything is under control. Come with me, I want to cheer you up. She replied, didn't you say that yesterday? And you ended up taking me to a pig shop. He laughed and said, no, this time it's different. Don't worry. They went out together and ran into the old man who asked, where are you 2 headed now? Lu replied, Sho is just taking me to a nearby restaurant, right, Sho? He confirmed, yeah, that's right. They climbed over a few rooftops, and Sho asked Lu to scan the area within a kilometer to check if anyone suspicious was nearby. She said, okay, summoned her bird and scanned the area. There's nothing, she said. He replied, great. I'll go check it out myself, and if everything's clear, I'll tell you to come. Lu agreed. Sho arrived at the spot, found it empty, and sent her a message to join him. When Lu arrived, Sho asked, "Do you sense any dead energy here?" She replied, "Yes, 3 people, 1 tall and 2 short." He said, "All right, take the tall man's energy." She absorbed it, and he told her, "Now summon it, so we can confirm if it's the one." She said, "I'm out of energy right now. I'll need a day to recover." He replied, "All right, no problem. We did great today. Let's head back." Lu responded, "Head back? Weren't you taking me to a restaurant?" Sho said, "Weren't we just joking?" She snapped, "No! You want us to go back on empty stomachs? You want the old man to talk trash about us?" He laughed and said, "Okay, fine. Let's celebrate what we achieved today." He took her to a restaurant downtown. They sat and ate. She clearly had a big appetite. While they were eating, Sho said to her, "What happened between us today must stay a secret. Don't show your powers to anyone." She nodded and said, "Okay." Sho looked at Lu as she ate and said, "I know that living with me is hard. If you were still at the orphanage, you'd probably be eating better than this. I know my financial situation is affecting you, and I'm sorry if I've let you down." Upon hearing his words, Lu started to cry and said, "I don't care about the food or anything else. I just want to live with you in our home." Sho was deeply moved by her words. He began to remember how close they used to be when they were younger, and he recalled the first time he was able to gather enough money to rent the house they currently lived in. Then he told her, "I want the same thing. I want to live somewhere I can call our home, and from today on, we'll stay together forever." Lu was overjoyed by his words, and the day ended on that warm note. Meanwhile, the Sky Network held a meeting to investigate the identity of the person who defeated the criminal. They said, "From the way he spoke and acted, he seems like a teenager. But if a teenager can already reach this level of power, what will he become when he grows up? We need to find him quickly." At that time, Sho was out selling his tofu. His reputation had grown so much that all his tofu would sell out within just 10 minutes. Sho felt a bit upset because he could no longer absorb negative emotions from people. They all seemed to love the tofu and its scent. While he was selling, a man approached him and asked about the tofu. When Sho told him it was sold out, the man got upset, and Sho gained 50 points from that. That gave him an idea. Later, another man came up and said, "I want tofu." Sho replied, "You want tofu?" The man said, "Yes." Sho said, "Come closer. The tofu is completely sold out." The man got even more upset, and Sho earned 100 points from him. The next day, Lu, who had been asleep, felt her energy return. She woke up, went to Sho, and shared the news. Then she showed him the creature she had summoned. He asked her, "How do you control it?" The girl replied, "It does whatever I want. I could even make it hit you right now if I wanted." "Please don't," Sho said, pleading. Then Lu told him that she could also see their memories. She added with a smile, "By the way, your punch was really strong." Sho replied, "You can see their memories too? That's great." Suddenly, Lu said she saw in one of their memories a place where a large amount of stolen money was hidden. She suggested they go and retrieve it. But Sho refused, saying, "We can't do that. If we take it, we'll have to hand it over to the police. Then they'll ask us how we found it, and people will find out about your powers." Lu became upset and said, "Why don't we just keep the money and buy the house we're living in? Can't we use it for something that will help us?" Sho replied, "I want to buy that house too, but not in the wrong way." Then he started teasing her even more, which made her even sadder. She left him and walked away. The next day, Sho went to school and found the entire class talking about the incident that happened on the bridge. When Sho saw them, he began teasing everyone again and gained some points from them. Afterward, Sho sat in his seat and asked Jia about the Blessed Land. Jia told him, "It's a land filled with spiritual energy. If you train there, your power will increase quickly, and you'll reach awakening." Sho replied, "That sounds good, but the land is really expensive. Isn't there another way I can train?" Jia answered, "There is. You can use magic stones instead. I heard they'll be giving us some tomorrow." Sho said, "All right then, that's perfect." The next day, a new principal arrived at the school. He was a member of the Sky Network and had come specifically to train the Dewan class, also known as the Special Abilities class. As soon as the principal, named Li Xiao, walked past Sho felt something strange about him. He realized that this man wasn't ordinary. He was definitely a member of the Sky Network. Li Xiao also noticed that one of the students had sensed something, but he ignored it and continued with the welcoming ceremony. After the ceremony ended, Li Xiao went straight to the Dewan class. He warned them about the mysterious individual who had recently appeared in the city and described his features in detail so they could report him immediately if they saw him. He then distributed magical stones to the students for training, each based on their level. Since Sho's level was low, he only only received 2 stones. Later, Sho pulled Jia aside and asked him if the spiritual stones could be sold and how much they were worth. Jia explained that the stones were from the Sky Network and were prohibited from being sold, but he knew someone in the black market who could buy them. Indeed, he contacted his friend, and they agreed on a price. Each stone was worth 120,000 yen, which meant that if Sho sold them, he could easily afford to buy the house fully furnished. Meanwhile, Li Xiao went to visit the old man to question him about the new sword-wielding individual who had appeared. He suspected that the old man might have trained him. However, the old man denied knowing anything and told him it was inappropriate for a respectable man to doubt others. Li Xiao felt embarrassed and left. Shu then returned home, where he was greeted by Luo, who asked him about the Sky Network and the Earth domain. Shu explained everything he knew, then said, "I have good news for you." Luo was thrilled and asked what it was. Shu showed her the money he had saved and gave her a new phone. He then told her he had spoken to the landlord and that the ownership of the house would be transferred to his name starting the next day. Luo was overwhelmed with joy. She hugged him and cried tears of happiness. It was a truly beautiful moment. Afterward, Shu resumed his training and continued to increase his power. Luo's energy also began to grow. As Sho received the deed to the house, he got a message from the school notifying him that they would be traveling to a new training location. He realized he wouldn't be returning home for a few days. The next day, the students boarded transport vehicles headed to the training site. While on the way, Jia began explaining the place they were going to. This area is called the Ruins. It was formed after the alien invasion. Inside, you'll find illusions, treasures, and many other things. But the most important thing in that ruin is the core eye. If someone manages to obtain it, the ruin disappears completely. The students listened carefully. All of them focused intently. Jia continued speaking, saying, "The leader of the Sky Network managed to open a ruin a few days ago and retrieve the core eye, which turned out to be a sword." The students got very excited. They arrived at the training location, where their instructor gathered them and said, "You're here on a secret mission. This is mainly to increase your experience, nothing more. But if anyone leaks any information, they will face military punishment." The students responded, "Understood." They all went inside. Each received their meal and sat down to eat. However, there was one chubby student who wasn't happy with the place and kept asking for a chair, saying he didn't want to eat sitting on the ground. There weren't any chairs available, but eventually, a soldier saw him and gave him his own chair to stop the complaints. The soldier then sat on the ground instead. When Sho saw what happened, he wasn't pleased. He went over to the student and said, "Get up from the chair." The student pretended not to hear him, so Sho got angry and punched him. The instructor then came and took the student inside, while Sho kept eating as if nothing happened. Later that night, everyone began training, except for Sho, who didn't know how to train like them. He thought to himself, "Why should I train when I can gain points another way? Let's go have some fun." He went to the class leader and started annoying him while he was trying to train. The leader tried to ignore him, but Sho kept going until he managed to earn some points and use them to buy apples. Then Sho tried calling Lu to check on her, but there was no signal, which made him very worried and feel like something might be wrong. Later, he went to eat again. This time, the cook gave him extra food, and even one of the soldiers offered him his chair, probably because of the manly thing Sho did the day before. But Sho refused to take the chair and sat on the ground again, eating with Jia. After the meal, Sho went back to bothering the class leader, who was clearly fed up. He ran off to train far from the camp. But did Sho let him go? Of course not. Sho chased after him, kept teasing him until he collected all the points he wanted. Sho then went to train alone, opened his star map, and managed to increase his power. He felt much stronger. When he went to lunch, the class leader approached him angrily and said, "You've been acting like a big shot ever since you beat me in the arm wrestling match. Well, I've powered up too, and if we fight now, I'll crush you." Sho agreed to the rematch. The teacher overheard them and came to be the referee. The two locked hands and got ready to compete. All the students were cheering for the class leader, hoping Sho would lose so they could finally be rid of him, which is exactly what Sho wanted. The moment the teacher raised his hand and said, "Go!" Zrania Sho defeated the class leader in less than a second. Everyone was shocked, and Sho started collecting points from all of them. The teacher too was impressed by Shu's strength after witnessing it and said to him, "Come on, play against me." Shu replied, "All right," and accepted the challenge. Although the teacher was much stronger than the class president, he also lost easily. The teacher was overjoyed by Shu's power and said, "You have a brilliant future ahead of you. Keep this up, and no one will be able to stand in your way." Then Shu had an idea and said jokingly, No, teacher, it's all thanks to the class president. He's my lucky charm. Every time I touch his hand, my energy increases. The class president overheard him and kept giving him points generously. While they were sitting, Li Xiao suddenly noticed thick fog entering the area. He realized that this wasn't normal for this place, so he rang the emergency alarm and ordered everyone to evacuate. Shu heard the alarm and tried to escape with the others, but the fog caught up to them in seconds and swallowed everyone inside. Shu fell into a strange place he had never seen before and thought to himself, I've never seen this place in my life. Before he could finish his thoughts, a skeletal monster attacked him. Shu dodged all its attacks skillfully, grabbed his axe, and finished it off. Then he climbed up to a high spot to figure out where he should go, but suddenly many monsters appeared beneath him, trying to kill him. He kept running, and none of them could catch him. Suddenly, a few students came running toward him, shouting, "Run! There are monsters behind us!" Shu turned and saw one of them being killed, so he rushed over and eliminated all the monsters within seconds. The other students stood frozen, shocked by the power he had just displayed. Suddenly, a monster surrounded Sho, and he didn't know what to do. The other students just stood there watching, and none of them dared to help. Sho then gathered his strength and managed to defeat the monster. Afterward, he approached them and said, "This place isn't safe. Go find somewhere else to hide." One of the girls replied, "But where are you going? Stay with us and protect us." Shu didn't respond. Instead, he said, "Monsters can only be killed by cutting off their heads. Take this axe and fight them." Then he left. After he walked away, one of them said, "We should have helped him. Maybe he would have stayed with us." That day ended, and later Shu began fighting skeletal warriors to obtain a weapon. He successfully defeated them and took a sword from one of them. He kept running through the ruins, searching for a place to hide before nightfall. While running, he saw someone fire a flare into the sky. Without thinking, he ran toward the flare's location and launched another flare to the ground. Looking toward the source of the flare, Sho saw a person standing there holding a flare gun who was strangely emitting energy points. At that moment, Shu suspected this might be the spy Jia had warned him about. And indeed, this person turned out to be a spy sent by another organization. He already knew that the students would be entering the ruins and came with 6 companions. They had agreed to shoot flares into the sky if they got separated so they could regroup, but Sho's presence ruined their plan, and that's why the spy was visibly frustrated and leaking energy points. He then pretended to be friendly with Sho, acting as if he were from the same class, and claimed that he had entered the ruins by accident. Shu thought to himself, "Let's play along," and said, "I'm also from the Divine Arts class. Let's go together." The spy noticed the sword Shu was carrying and asked, "That's a nice sword. Did you get it from the ruins?" Shu replied, "Yes. Can I hold it for a second?" The spy asked as he cautiously moved closer. Shu pretended he would hand it over, but at the last moment, he pulled it toward himself. It was a trap to gain energy points. After that, the spy said he was going to leave, but Shu insisted, "Don't leave me. I'm afraid to walk alone. I'll come with you." The spy was stunned, but replied, "All right." They continued running together. Shu pretended to be slower and unable to keep up. The spy thought he could outrun him and escape, but to his surprise, Shu kept up effortlessly, matching his speed. Then suddenly, monsters began emerging from underground to attack them. The boy was trying to escape from the monsters, and Sho pretended to be scared as well, running alongside him. The boy wanted to take the weapon from Sho, while Sho was just messing with him. Then Sho shoved him and ran far from the skeletal monsters. The boy was about to die, but he pulled out a hidden knife and managed to kill the monsters with it. He kept running until he reached Sho, furious and wanting to kill him for pushing him. But he decided to kill him while he was asleep so he wouldn't resist or cause trouble. Later, the two of them went to a high spot to rest. Sho pretended to sleep at first, and when the boy came close to kill him, Sho opened his eyes and said, "I'm fine now. I won't need any sleep." The boy was enraged. In the morning, Sho went down to get food, pulled out some tofu, and started eating. When the boy saw the tofu, he was shocked and asked him how he made it, insisting it was impossible he had it with him. Sho kept teasing him until the boy finally lost it and decided to kill him. The boy was very strong and managed to land some hits on Sho, but Sho wasn't easy either. He dodged all the attacks and struck back. The boy became even angrier and attacked Sho with full force, but Sho skillfully dodged every hit. While dodging, Sho's sword fell to the ground. The boy thought he had the upper hand and was about to finish him, but Sho pulled out his second sword and finished him off. That's when the spy realized Sho was the same person who had defeated the criminal before. He collapsed to the ground and died. Sho looked at the boy's dead body and said, "This world really is terrifying. Yesterday, I was just joking with him, messing around, and today, I killed him. This isn't funny at all, but no matter how hard the path gets, I'll walk it." He left the area, and as he walked, He entered a forest and saw apples on the ground. He realized the trees were apple trees and started gathering some. While collecting, a group of squirrels appeared, very angry, and started throwing stones at him. He managed to gain some points from them, and then ran away with the apples. He kept running until he reached a river, drank from it, and said to himself, "I've been running for a long time and haven't met anyone. Does this ruin have no end?" He hadn't even finished his thought when a pack of wolves attacked him. He tried to run right, but found the whole wolf tribe there, so he turned back the way he came. Sho kept running and thought, "How come I'm not tired after all this running? Maybe it's the apples. Actually, I feel like I can run even faster." And indeed, he increased his speed and managed to escape all the wolves. He eventually reached the place where he had given the axe to the group of people and found that their numbers had increased. He sat with them and said, "I'll stay with you for one night, then I'll leave." The kids were trying to convince him to protect them, but he refused. He asked them, "When was the last time you ate?" The girl then started crying and said, "We haven't eaten in 3 days." He pulled out an apple and started eating it, then told them, "If you want this apple, head in that direction for 2 days. You'll find many trees full of apples there, but be careful of the squirrels. They don't like anyone touching their fruit." The kids got frustrated with him and gave him extra points, knowing they likely wouldn't get out of there. One of them grabbed the axe and approached him to forcefully take the apple, but Shu outmaneuvered him and took the axe back. Then he said, "It's time for me to go." He took his sword and the axe to fight monsters, but before leaving, he left them 2 apples without them noticing. Shu went on his way looking for something to do when suddenly he heard the sound of an approaching enemy. He stepped back as a skeleton attacked him with a spear. Shu grabbed the spear and wouldn't let go. More skeletons gathered to attack, but Shu knocked down the one in front of him, took his spear, and ran off. The skeletons kept searching for him, but couldn't find him. After giving up, they decided to leave the area. As soon as they left, Shu decided to take the rest of their weapons and follow them to bother them even more. Elsewhere, a group of students and teachers were lying in wait for the skeletal knights, hoping to kill them, but they didn't know how to deal with them, so they decided to try and kill the leader of the knights, hoping it would scatter the rest and allow them to finish the job. They looked for someone who looked different and chose the one without a spear, the one carrying only a sword. They assumed he was the leader, not realizing that Shu had stolen his weapon. The sniper took position and, boom, shot him in the head. Everyone celebrated, thinking they had defeated the knights, but the leader of the knights was still alive, and he ordered his followers to shoot arrows at them, leaving them with no choice but to flee. They moved to another area, puzzled, saying, "What did we do? Didn't we kill their leader? How are they still focused and attacking us?" One of the instructors replied, "There's only one possible explanation. The one we killed had his weapon stolen, but who would dare to steal his weapon?" Before they could finish their conversation, they spotted Shu lying in wait for the skeletal knights. He suddenly jumped on one of them, struck him down, took his spear, and walked away. The instructor then said, "So now we know who's been stealing the spears." He added, "Was there really a student in the Dion class with this kind of strength?" One of the students recognized Shu and said, "Yes, he's a student in our class named Shu. His energy system awakened after he defeated the class leader during the rest challenge. He seems to have incredible power." The instructor responded, "That's why we must recruit this boy into our ranks." On the other side, Shu was sitting on a tree, completely unbothered by soldiers, skeletons, or anything else. He was lost in thoughts about his past life and how much he missed his sister Lu and longed to return to her. After some deep thinking, he decided to continue on his path quickly to make the most of the ruins, and then return to her. As he walked along the path, the skeleton warriors had set an ambush for him to kill him. They surrounded him from all sides, ready to finish him off. But Shu surprised them by activating his spiritual energy into his spear, wielding it with great skill. He attacked the knights one by one and defeated them all. After finishing them off, he rushed to collect their weapons and left the place. Meanwhile, Lu was extremely angry because Shu hadn't returned home in 3 days. She was planning to scold him when he came back, but then she found a letter he had left. When she read it, she was overjoyed and decided to wait for him. Back to the teacher and his group. As they walked peacefully, they were shocked to find that all the skeleton warriors had been wiped out. Not only that, but their weapons were also gone. Of course, everyone quickly realized this was Shu's doing. It was his style. The teacher became more and more impressed by Shu's overwhelming strength and decided to create a plan to help him defeat the last remaining skeletons. At that moment, Shu had reached a new area where he activated his star map. He pulled out a yellow fruit and ate it. It appeared to give him even more control over the spears. At the same time, the students and teachers were lying in wait for the final group of skeletons to ambush them. Suddenly, a spear came crashing down from the sky and took out one of the knights. Then, more spears rained down from all directions, breaking them apart one by one. Shu then appeared and finished off the remaining enemies with his own hands. After witnessing this, the teacher decided to join him with the rest of the students to help. But Shu had already finished off all the knights in seconds, before any of them could even reach him. Everyone came down afterward, and they were all in shock at Shu's incredible power. The teacher was approaching to thank him, but before he could speak, Shu said, "All those weapons behind me are mine. I won't let you take a single one." The man replied, "All right, don't worry. I won't take anything. But isn't all that gear a bit too much for you? You won't be able to carry it all." Shu replied, "You know what? You're right. There are a lot of people behind me." Then he walked over to the weapons and acted like a street vendor. He sat down and called out, "Any spear or sword for 1,000 yen. Come get the best weapons from the skeleton soldiers." The kids gathered around Shu and began exchanging their expensive tools for weapons so they could fight the monsters. Shu was overjoyed. Two of Shu's classmates came along with a bit of money and wanted to buy a sword. Shu told them, "With the little cash you have, all you can get is a hatchet. But don't worry, it's solid and cuts well." The guy was thrilled and walked away. Shu then muttered, "Finally, I got rid of that crappy axe." The boy got annoyed and energy points appeared from him. Then the teacher gathered them again, and they continued walking through the ruins. They walked until their feet hurt from the long march. The teacher glanced over at Shu and noticed that he was still moving effortlessly. He walked over to Shu and chatted with him for a while. Shu asked him about the rest of the students and if anyone had been injured. The teacher said, "All the students are fine. No one got hurt. Most of the casualties were military cadets who died protecting the students." Shu was touched by this and felt the teacher was kind-hearted. Later, they stopped at a spot and lit a fire to keep warm. Shu noticed the teachers were exhausted and couldn't move, which moved him, so he gave them some apples to eat. As soon as they ate them, their energy returned, and they were delighted. Some of the students, upon seeing how much better the teachers looked, came over to Shu and said, "We want apples too." Shu looked at them and said, "You're just a bunch of useless kids standing behind the teachers to protect you. You do nothing. And now that you saw me give them something to help them recover, you come to take it too? Get lost. You're not getting anything from me." So they left. But one of the rich students approached Shu and handed him a watch worth 3,000 yen in exchange for 3 apples. Shu, of course, immediately agreed and handed him the apples. Right after that, the students heard the sound of monsters approaching, so they formed a circle to protect themselves from the ghosts. At that moment, Shu felt as though his sword wanted to emerge from within him and slay the ghosts, but he held it back, knowing he couldn't let the others see it. However, once the ghosts sensed the presence of Shu's sword, they became terrified and fled the area entirely. After witnessing the ghosts' reaction, Shu decided he would chase them later to collect some points. Eventually, the group of students reached the ruin center. There was a huge number of people who had managed to arrive there as well. Some students were talking about Sai and how powerful she was, having taken down all the knights on her own. One of them mentioned that her energy had also undergone an awakening, and she had become extremely strong. Shu was intrigued when he heard this, and the girl caught his attention, but he thought to himself, since there are so many people here, and I still have a lot of weapons, why not sell them? So people gathered around him again, and he began selling his weapons. Suddenly, one of his classmates approached and told him, "Come, the unit leader wants to see you." Shu was shocked, but followed him anyway. Sai was there too. The unit leader thanked both of them for what they had done, and asked for their help the next day to go deeper into the ruins. He then took out his sword and threw it into the opening to measure its depth. His weapon consumed a huge amount of energy, unlike Shu's sword, which didn't consume any energy at all. When they realized the opening was about 100 meters deep, they decided not to do anything that day, and to explore everything the next day, as they didn't know what dangers awaited below. Naturally, everyone agreed. Later, Shu sat quietly in a corner and began counting the negative emotions he had gathered. While doing so, he discovered that there were 9 spies among them. These individuals didn't have names, only numbers, indicating that they were indeed spies. The boy was trying to look around to figure out who the spies were, but he didn't notice what was happening on the other side. Meanwhile, teacher Li Xiao arrived at the ruin center, carrying an entire apple tree with him, clearly possessing great power. Sho went over to him and saw a very angry squirrel coming out of the tree because they had taken its apples. When the squirrel saw Sho, it got even angrier and jumped at him to attack, but Sho grabbed it and gave it an apple. The squirrel instantly calmed down and turned meek like a kitten. Then Jia ran over to Sho to check on him and see what was going on. Sho told him, "Don't worry, I'm fine. Everything's under control." Gio was very happy and told him what had happened, how he managed to defeat 4 knights on his own, and that his energy had increased a lot since entering the ruins. Sho was glad for his friend and gave him a spear to fight with, this time for free because they were friends. One of the spies then approached Sho and asked for a spear, saying, "Give me a spear now, and I'll pay you 50,000 yen when we get out." Sho replied, "There's no guarantee for that. I'm not giving you anything." The guy got angry and started releasing negative energy. When Sho saw his name, he realized he was one of the spies among the enemies. After that, teacher Li Xiao gathered everyone and told them, "Tomorrow we'll go deep into the ruins. There's no plan or anything. Whoever we face, we kill. That's it." The teachers were surprised by what he said and tried to convince him to come up with a plan, but he refused to listen. Later, while the kids were asleep, the spies took advantage of the opportunity and descended into the ruins ahead of them, intending to steal the core eye. But Shu was aware of their plan and caught one of them, refusing to let him go down. The spy got angry, and a fight broke out between them. Meanwhile, the other 8 spies who had already descended realized one of them was missing, but they said, "The mission is more important," and continued with their objective. The spy who was fighting Shu was just about to attack when Shu suddenly shouted at the top of his voice, "You want to sneak down before everyone to steal the core eye, you spy? I won't let you." All the kids woke up to Shu's voice, and Li Xiao also noticed what was happening. The spy suddenly felt a strong aura approaching, and indeed, the teacher struck him down in one blow. After that, teacher Li said, "I didn't agree to attack yesterday because I knew there were spies, and I was waiting for them to expose themselves." Then, he ordered all the students capable of fighting to gather so they could eliminate the monsters and retrieve the core eye before the spies could. The capable students gathered, including Shu and the girl Sai, and they went to the unit leader. Li Xiao said to the commander, "I need you to stay here and protect the rest of the academy's students." The commander replied, "Fine, but next time you plan something, I'd appreciate if you inform me." Li Xiao agreed and then gathered everyone. He gave them a motivational speech before the battle and said, "The most important thing is to use your brains. If something happens, the area down there is dangerous, and the only way out is through smart thinking." Everyone agreed and was ready. Then the commander asked one of the Sky Network members to create a rope ladder for them to descend. She did, and everyone started going down. While Shu was climbing down, he felt something strange from his sword but kept going normally. When they reached the bottom, they were shocked. All the spies had committed suicide. Not a single one of them remained alive. Li, upon seeing them, said, "These are strange rituals they perform to die. Let's not get involved with them." They continued forward and reached a place filled with mysterious crystals that looked truly strange. Suddenly, a large number of ghosts emerged and began attacking the students. But Li activated his energy and struck down many of the ghosts to protect them. However, their numbers were overwhelming, and they surrounded the rest of the group. The teachers quickly realized that the ghosts had weak bodies and were easy to eliminate, so they joined the fight. Everyone fought skillfully, except for Shu. Every monster that approached him would flee upon sensing the powerful aura from his sword. Shu grew frustrated because no one was attacking him, so he decided to start killing ghosts himself. After defeating several of them, Shu noticed his sword absorbing their energy, making him even stronger. But then, suddenly, a ghost hand killed one of the soldiers during the battle. The shocking part was that this wasn't an ordinary ghost. It was the same person who had been among the spies. The ritual the spies had performed was meant to turn him into a ghost, so he could sneak in and steal the Eye of Formation unnoticed. Li, upon witnessing what happened, grew furious and cast a powerful defensive spell to eliminate him. Then Li Xiao gathered the other teachers to discuss a way to defeat the ghost, but they had no idea where it was or how to locate it. Suddenly, Shu felt his sword guiding him and telling him to strike to the right. He obeyed, and to everyone's surprise, hit the spy directly. Li was stunned and asked, "How did you know where he was?" Shu replied, "Would you believe me if I said it was luck?" Li said, "No." Shu said, "Then strike over there." Li followed the suggestion and once again hit the spy. Shu was shocked that it worked again by chance. After a few more attempts that missed, Li realized the earlier hits really had been lucky. He then stepped away from Shu and prepared to continue the mission. Suddenly, a massive gate opened and countless enemies began to emerge, threatening to annihilate them. The leader of the skeletons appeared and said, "How dare you enter my fortress? None of you will leave here alive." Li turned to the students and said, "Do you see that spear he's holding? That's likely the Eye of Formation. Leave him to me. I'll defeat the enemy commander and take it from him. The rest of you, protect yourselves and wipe out the others." Everyone agreed and the battle began. Lee fought fiercely and was able to strike the enemy leader and even kill his horse. But the commander, enraged, went all out, and the two engaged in a deadly duel. Meanwhile, the Sky Network members and the students began battling the weaker monsters and successfully started taking them down one by one. One of the monsters was about to strike Sho, but Sai managed to protect him and defeated all the remaining enemies on her own. Shu got excited too and rushed forward to fight, but as soon as the skeletons sensed the power of his sword, they fled in fear. At that moment, Shu decided to leave the battle and head deeper into the castle, hoping to find something valuable before returning. He actually entered the castle, but he felt something strange within himself, like his sword was warning him that someone was watching him. He walked into a certain area where a spy was hiding, waiting to assassinate him. However, the sword noticed him first and eliminated the spy instantly. Meanwhile, the battle between Lee and the enemy commander raged on fiercely. Lee managed to grab the commander's spear and refused to let go, despite the commander trying to shake him off to the left and right. At the same time, Shu arrived at a very strange place with a sign that said, "No entry." Of course, he decided to enter anyway. As soon as he walked in, he found many guards standing motionless, all holding spears. When Shu saw the spears, he approached them to take the weapons, but the moment he got close, the guards began to move and attack him. Shu drew his sword, and all the guards were terrified of its power and backed away. He began collecting the spears from them one by one. One guard refused to give up his spear, but Shu pulled out his sword and threatened him. The guard couldn't resist, so Shu took the spear by force. Then, Shu moved through the remaining guards, taking all their weapons. Meanwhile, the enemies had overwhelmed the teachers and students, and the situation was getting worse. One of the teachers was about to be killed by the skeletons, but the girl managed to wipe out all the enemies in an instant. Master Lee continued fighting the enemy commander in an intense battle. The commander managed to restrain Lee and prevent him from moving, but Lee unleashed all his power and attacked again, grabbing one of the commander's spears. At the same time, Sai had taken down a large number of enemies, and her energy was nearly depleted. At that moment, Sho had approached a place that appeared to contain the true core eye. The enemy commander sensed Shu's presence, left his spear with Lee, and rushed swiftly toward Shu's location. As for Lee, after taking the spear and realizing the ruins didn't disappear, he understood that it wasn't the real core eye. He continued chasing the commander until he reached the guards. The enemy commander then ordered the guards to kill Lee, and it seemed that he had fallen into a trap. Meanwhile, everyone's energy had completely drained, and hope began to fade from their hearts. They believed their end was near. But just before the commander reached Shu opened something, revealing the true core eye. The moment he touched it, everything in the ruins began to vanish. The commander and everyone with him disappeared, and everything was absorbed into the core eye. Even the spears Shu carried. Those outside noticed the mist gradually dissipating, and everyone began to return from the ruins to the real world, overwhelmed with joy that they were still alive. The class leader had sustained a head injury and was sitting down receiving treatment. Suddenly, Jia rushed in and asked about Sho. The class leader took him to the weapons distribution area to inquire about him, but the teacher there said, "Search for him. If he's not here, then you'll probably find his body." That boy was incredibly strong in the ruins. It's hard to believe he would die so easily. Everyone was heartbroken. Then, in a sudden and unexpected moment, Sho walked in, glowing from all he had gained in the ruins. Everyone was stunned. No one could believe their eyes. Shu approached the teacher, handed him the spears he had collected, and then upset the rest of them by claiming points from them, before calmly walking away. As he walked, he began to feel energy points coming toward him from Lu, as she was still upset with him. He found her up in a tree, waiting for him, and she jumped down to greet him with her usual kick. Then, she started examining his entire body to make sure he hadn't been hurt. When she saw he was unharmed, she burst into tears of pure joy. It was an incredibly emotional and beautiful moment, dear viewer. After that, the boy apologized to her for leaving her alone all that time and embraced her. He then promised to take her to the best restaurant in town as a way to make it up to her. The girl was overjoyed, and the day ended with that touching scene. After Master Li Xiao exited the ruins, he headed toward the Sky Organization to inform them about what had happened, and that a certain individual had managed to steal the core eye. The unit leader caught up with him before he left and asked what he should tell the reporters who were swarming the place. Li told him, "Tell them there's something urgent behind me, and that I'm heading to the organization because I suspect the spies are the ones who took the core eye." The man replied, Alright. Meanwhile, Shu and his sister were returning home safely when they ran into the old man, who started checking in on them. The old man told Shu, "Poor training is like rowing against the current. If you stop, your body will weaken and regress." Shu replied, "You're absolutely right. But safe training is 100 times better than those ruins." Then the old man told Shu that his sister had been going out every day looking for him, even climbing the tallest tree in the city, hoping to catch a glimpse of him returning. Shu, upon hearing that, was overjoyed, while his sister appeared quite embarrassed. After that, Shu returned home and asked his sister to summon her creature. She did, and asked, "What do you need him for?" Shu said, "Just watch." He activated his power and brought out 2 energy stones. Lu was shocked and asked, "Where did you get these from?" Shu replied, "After I started defeating ghosts, my sword absorbed their energy and converted it into this crystal. As for the colored crystal, it resulted from absorbing a strange entity, not our concern." The girl then asked, "So what are we going to do with them?" Shu answered, "If your creature eats it, it'll boost his power and level him up." So the creature ate it, and his dark energy began to rise significantly. But suddenly, he started laughing uncontrollably, and the 2 of them were stunned by the result. Lu shouted, "What kind of crystal did you give him?" "A laughter crystal? First, you killed my pig, and now you give me this laughing crystal? You're completely useless." Some dark points emerged from her in frustration. Shu quickly said, All right, I've got another gift for you." He pulled out 2 apples he had gotten from the ruins for her to eat, and the girl was extremely happy with them. While Lu was eating, the squirrel saw her and was extremely upset. But when Lu saw him, she was very pleased and said, "From today, you're my pet." She named him Xiao and started playing with him. At first, the squirrel was angry and didn't know what to do, but after Lu gave him some chips, he liked them and became cute again. She told him, "If you want more chips, you have to follow me for the rest of your life." The squirrel agreed, and it was one of the funniest scenes. Meanwhile, Shu entered his room and brought out the formation eye. He used his power on it and connected his consciousness to it. Suddenly, he found himself flying in the air as if surrounded by a magical aura. It turned out that this formation eye was called the Seal of River and Mountains, and it granted him the ability to observe the surrounding areas without being seen. Shu then returned to his senses but felt something strange in the seal. He reconnected his consciousness to it and entered again. Once inside, he found a vast space with some of the weapons he had collected inside the ruins. He was very happy and decided to use it as his personal weapon storage. Suddenly, Shu noticed a huge gate and walked towards it, trying to open it. At first, he couldn't, but after using all his strength, he managed to open a small part of it. When he peeked inside, he saw the ruins he had previously been in, inside the gate. Shu was overjoyed and decided that once he became stronger, he would open that gate fully and train inside it. At that moment, Lu was very worried about Shu, thinking something bad had happened to him. When Shu sensed her concern, he returned to reassure her that he was okay. He said, "I was just testing the new power, that's all." Lu hugged him and said, "I thought you were going to leave me again." She was very sad. Shu then promised her that he would never leave her again and invited her to dinner. It was a moment full of joy and warmth. He then told her, "With the money I've gathered, I'll take you on another trip." Upon hearing that, Lu became overjoyed and was filled with happiness. Meanwhile, the head of the Sky Network gathered with his assistant to discuss the matter of the formation core. The assistant said that Li Xiao suspected a spy had taken the formation core and absorbed its power, but the leader responded, "I don't think a spy was the one who took the core. It must be someone else. I've already sent 2 agents into the city to monitor the flow of magical energy. Wherever an unusual energy spike is detected, that's where the formation core will be." Clearly, this leader isn't an ordinary man. He truly deserves his position. The assistant then said, "The Royal Division class performed very poorly in the ruins, but according to the teacher's report, 2 students experienced an awakening, and their power levels were very high during the battle. One of them had low grades but showed remarkable combat ability," referring to Shu, and the other was a girl with high power and consistent focus, clearly referring to Sai. After hearing that, the commander was impressed and decided to recruit Sai into the Sky Network for special training. In the first season of The Tale of Show, we discovered that we are living in an era of awakened powers and energies spreading across the world. As a result, strange and unusual events began to unfold. Many people succeeded in awakening their supernatural abilities, but as these powers continued to evolve, malicious forces emerged, seeking to misuse these abilities for their own gain. To counter this, an organization called Dragon was established. Its mission is to regulate supernatural powers and protect civilians from external threats. The organization is led by the powerful Ni, who once granted power to the hero Eren. On one occasion, a group of intruders infiltrated the nation. Ni faced these elite fighters all on his own. Though they ganged up on him, he proved to be a formidable opponent. He deflected their attacks with astounding skill and agility, even reflecting their strikes back upon them with precision. When one of the attackers attempted to flee, Ni struck him with a blade, halting his escape. He then turned his attention to a towering warrior and swiftly defeated him with his sword in mere seconds. Sensing danger, the leader of the intruders tried to escape, but in the blink of an eye, Ni appeared beside him and delivered a strike so fierce it sent him flying from the far east to the far west. The intruder rose once more, channeling all his energy to summon a blazing fire dragon. But Ni was already ready. With swift precision, he cleaved the dragon in half and vanquished the enemy for good. Meanwhile, our protagonist, Sho, remains a humble high school student who sells tofu in the afternoons. His main skill? Trickery. To earn points from people through clever deception. One day, a plump man wearing a wig approached Sho, hoping to buy his famously delicious tofu. Sho told him, "It's truly special. It'll bring back your youth." The man was stunned, and his wig fell off from the shock. Sho turned his face and asked, "So, how many would you like?" The man replied, "Give me 2, no 3. But Sho, seeing an opportunity, said, "Unfortunately, there's only one left." The man agreed, "Fine, I'll take it." Sho then slowly waved the tofu before him and said, "Sorry, this one's just for display." All the while, Sho's point counter was rapidly ticking up as the man desperately begged to buy it at any price. Just then, Sho received a message from his teacher. That evening, a school meeting was scheduled for parents only. The staff at the door weren't allowing anyone but parents to enter. Sho, disguised as one of them, approached. The attendant gave him a knowing glance and let him in. Sho walked proudly into the meeting hall, where all the parents were gathered. One of them was complaining that his son had faced serious danger in the woods and was nearly lost. Leo's father stood beside him and said, "My son was lucky. He didn't even get a scratch." A woman in front of him added, "We all know your son is brilliant. He's surely destined for a bright future." The man chuckled proudly. Then another woman said, "I heard there's another student, Sho, who managed to defeat 10 skeletal creatures all on his own." Leo's father looked embarrassed. Just then, Sho strode in confidently and said, "Only 10? That's nothing. I took down 50. He cut through the skeletons like slicing vegetables for a salad. Leo's father, boiled with rage, extended his hand to greet Sho, and Sho replied, "Sorry, remind me, whose father are you again?" Everyone in the room was shocked by his boldness. At that moment, Teacher Z entered and said, "What are you doing here? Why didn't your father come?" The parents were stunned, and Leo's father nearly banged his head against the wall. Sho pulled Z aside and whispered, "Did you forget? I'm an orphan. I have no family." Z responded, "All right, no problem. Go ahead and sit with them." Z then addressed the parents from the podium. "You all know what happened in the woods and the dangers your children faced. That's why I want to hear your stance on this matter." One parent slammed his hand on the table in frustration, saying, "This was your fault to begin with. You should never have exposed our kids to such danger." All the parents nodded in agreement. Z responded, "You've misunderstood me. If you're afraid for your children, you're free to withdraw them. We never force anyone to stay." Sho raised his hand and asked, "What will happen to those who decide to remain?" Z answered, "Students who stay will receive advanced training, monthly salaries, and special allowances." At that moment, the parents began reconsidering their decision. Sho lit up with excitement, thinking, "Perfect. I'll have another source of income besides tofu sales." Z continued, "Your children possess special abilities. We must harness these talents to build the future and to protect our land." Leo's father raised his hand and said, "I approve of my son staying." Even the angry parent gave his approval. One by one, the rest of the parents raised their hands to support their children's continued involvement and enrollment in Dragon Organization. Later that night at home, Sho held the school application papers, unsure how to explain the situation to Law. He decided to delay the conversation and spun the Wheel of Fortune instead. He waited as it turned, only for a tofu to appear. He spun again and once more, tofu. Again and again, tofu. Finally, something else, a sandwich. Annoyed, he threw himself onto the bed as his point meter kept dropping. Frustrated, he kicked the wheel one more time, and this time, a strange fruit appeared. He ate it, and suddenly felt a strange surge of energy. Time itself froze around him. A glowing meteor of energy descended from the sky and struck Sho directly, fusing into his body. He found himself floating in a mysterious place among the clouds, where he slept peacefully and happily. until he woke up again in the real world. Sho returned to the Wheel of Fortune and spun it once more. Then he stepped out of his room. Outside, La was sitting and eating potato chips. Beside her, a squirrel stared longingly at the snack. She gave it one, and it devoured it quickly. She was about to offer a second, but quickly pulled it into her mouth, shocking the squirrel and causing Sho's point counter to tick again. Sho approached the door and asked, "Do you want me to bring you something?" She replied, "I want pancakes, noodles, tomatoes, and eggs." Sho stood there, visibly irritated by her strange list. He slammed the door and left. Meanwhile, she continued snacking, and the squirrel sat there weeping, hoping she'd toss him just one more. Sho left the house and headed to the old man next door, his trainer. The old man said to Sho, "I told you that you wouldn't come." Sho smiled slyly and thought to himself, "Of course this old man wanted something from me." Then he began preparing for his training. The old man had learned that Sho was going to join the Dragnet organization, so he asked him, "What's your plan?" Sho replied, "I have no plan," and took points from him, which annoyed the old man. Sho explained, "Don't get me wrong. I mean, as long as I live happily with love, that's enough for me." At that moment, the old man took his sword and handed it to him, offering advice about power. He warned him that those who gain power may grow distant from themselves over time and end up harming others. Then he said, "Let's continue our sword training." He began explaining how to channel his energy properly, how to control the sword's power, and how to use it in battle. Afterward, he gave him the sword, saying, "You're still at the beginning and need more training." Sho gripped the sword, gathered all his energy, and struck the air. With the very first attempt, he managed to slice a tree leaf in half. The old man stood up, entered his house, and slammed the door in fury. He was deeply upset that Sho had succeeded on his first try. Still, he gave Sho 1,000 points at once. The next day, Sho's friend Ji came to visit him at his house after a previous invitation. While walking around the house, Ji noticed the stickers Sho's sister had put on the fridge and asked, "Where's your sister?" Sho replied, "Still asleep." Ji said, "Though our classmates don't like you because of the tofu stall you run, your house is never messy. On the contrary, it's neat and quite lovely." Sho answered, "I like order. I enjoy living my life happily." Ji asked, "Why don't you have any friends? What if you got into trouble one day and needed help?" Sho replied, "Don't worry. I can handle myself." Ji said, "Since we're going to join Dragnet together, we should cooperate." Sho replied, "I need to join the organization to train and change my future." Then he said, "By the way, I have a strange request. Can you give me 3 drops of blood from your finger?" Ji answered, "No problem." Sho was surprised and asked, "Aren't you curious why I'm asking for your blood?" Ji replied, "Would you have told me if I asked?" Sho said, "No." Ji responded, "Then shut up." Sho began preparing the tools needed to take the blood. After a while, Ji left the house, and the old man and his wife bid him farewell. Sho also said goodbye, while snatching a few points from them quickly. Sho entered the house again, and Lu had just woken up. He said to her, "Come sit next to me. I have good news for you." She came closer, still dazed, and asked, "What is it?" He said excitedly, "Congratulations, you're going to school." She was shocked, fully awakened, and yelled, "Good news? This is a disaster. I wake up to this catastrophe. I don't want to go to school." He said, "You know you came from the orphanage to live with me. We used to be beggars with nothing, but now we have money, and you should live a normal life. Frankly, if you don't go to school, then no noodles, no pancakes, no tomatoes, no eggs." Lu was stunned by his threat and said, "Looks like I'll have to agree. For the sake of noodles, pancakes, tomatoes, and eggs." Sho turned his face and said, "Mission complete. All respect." She said reluctantly, "Fine, I'll go to school." He brought her some food he had gotten from the Wheel of Fortune so she could have breakfast before leaving. She was still in shock that he was serious, especially when she saw points flying out of her in anger. After finishing breakfast, she left the house and walked toward the squirrel who was eating apples with the rats. She grabbed a broom and chased the rats away, saying to the squirrel, "Don't hang around those rats again, they'll corrupt your brother." Sho called out to her, "Come on, change your clothes quickly." Then he prepared the blood sample he took from Ji and the documents that were to be delivered to the school. He said to her, "We'll meet with Director Xiao tonight to hand him these documents so he can recommend you." In the evening, Sho met with Director Xiao at the restaurant and handed him Lu's documents. Lu was extremely upset about going to school, while Sho looked very pleased. Afterward, Sho returned to the old man to resume his sword training. The old man asked him, "Why didn't you tell me you were sending Lu to school?" Sho replied, "Of course I can't do without your services. You'll be doing her homework." The old man was deeply annoyed and points started leaking out of him. Then he asked, "Did you meet with the Shiab and give him a test tube containing blood?" Sho tried to dodge the question, but the old man said, "Enough lying. You know they use blood samples to assess a student's special abilities. You and Lu both have exceptionally high abilities, but you're afraid of drawing attention to yourself. That's why you took your friend G's blood instead. And you'll ask me, how did I know? Well, I've been your neighbor for years, and I've never seen a classmate visit you before. So I was sure it was you who invited him. He continued, but you must be careful. There's a problem. Dragnet has a DNA library, and your friend's blood is almost certainly in their system. Your secret will be exposed. It's only a matter of time. Sho was shocked and started to feel anxious. The old man handed him another test tube and said, you'd better go now and replace it with the one in Xiao's office. He often leaves the samples on his desk. If you don't do it before the school opens in the morning, someone else will collect them. Sho thought to himself, this organization is not as simple as I imagined. He went to wake Lu, who was still half asleep. She checked the time. It was 4 in the morning, and angrily threw the phone at his face. Sho caught it and said, hurry up. I need you to bring out your personal criminal. Despite being grossed out by him, she went out and brought the corpse, which was still laughing from season 1 because of Sho. Lu looked at him and said, this is all your fault, you jerk. That laughter is from the food you gave him, you scoundrel. Sho said, the important thing now is for you to take him to Xiao's office and replace the test tube there with this one. The criminal took the tube and dashed off to complete the mission. Lu said, since you woke me up this early, why don't you treat me to breakfast? Sho replied, let's finish the mission first. Then he activated the formation eye and sent his phantom into the sky to monitor the criminal, who was running at full speed. He reached the school, which was heavily fortified with guards and surveillance cameras, but Lu expertly controlled him, making him avoid all the guards until he reached Xiao's office and entered through the window. He searched for the tube, and once he found it, he quickly made the switch. Now it was time to escape. Lu tried to guide the body to retreat quietly, but unfortunately, one of the guards spotted him, raised his weapon, and said, surrender. The corpse began laughing, and the guard was completely baffled. Lu shouted, this is all your fault, you idiot! The corpse kept laughing until sunrise. The guard took out his phone to report the intrusion. The corpse tried to stop him, but sadly, the news of an intruder spread, and all the guards began chasing him down. The corpse was hidden in one of the rooms, while 2 guards were searching for it. Suddenly, one of the guards grabbed the corpse and threw it at the other, then tried to flee the school swiftly. However, he was struck by a bullet fired from a distance that pierced his body. At that moment, Sho screamed in terror for his sister Lu, fearing she had been hit as well, but she replied calmly, I am fine, and even the corpse was unharmed. As long as it is not dead, I will be fine. The corpse then dashed quickly out of the school amidst a state of alarm among the teachers, security, and members of the Digent organization. Meanwhile, the teacher Z could not comprehend how such a breach had occurred, especially since nothing had changed. Everything remained as it was. At that point, the director Xiao ordered an examination of the fingerprints found on the wall of the test tube to verify if his fingerprints were present. Teacher Z remarked, man, it's just a student's blood sample. Who would attack a school for that? Xiao replied, checking the fingerprints will not harm us in any way. Afterwards, Sho went to his elderly neighbor's house. The old man was surprised by their visit, and Shu explained, I came to replace the tube as you told me, but I heard gunfire from afar, got scared, and returned. Can you help us by changing it this time? The old man agreed, saying, only this once, since it's the first time you've asked me. But don't ask me again. Shu thanked him for the assistance. The old man entered his home and pondered Sho's words. Could the morning gunfire have been related to Sho? His wife took the tube from him and said, there was a black ghost laughing non-stop there, and it was hit by a bullet while fleeing. He responded, perhaps Sho truly has no connection, especially since his sister Lu was unharmed. His wife added, could it be that his sister is the trump card he relies on? He replied, possibly. Honestly, I would be surprised if he had no trump card. She asked, then why didn't you tell me to change the tube yesterday? He answered, maybe they do not want to help us. Anyway, it's their problem to fix. Meanwhile, at the school, members of the organization were watching a video of the criminal laughing, trying to find any clues. Director Xiao was furious at this laughing ghost, and someone said, surely that ghost is foolish. Shortly after, the test tube's fingerprint results arrived. The teacher informed the director that the tube contained only his fingerprints and nothing else had been stolen. Xiao was nearly exploding with rage at the criminal who left no trace. Meanwhile, Sho and Lu were having breakfast together. Sho said, finally, you will go to school. Lu looked at him with disdain and said, do you know anything other than school? Every time you say school, school. If the old man had agreed to help us earlier, we would have been done by now. Shu replied, that is why you must train harder to control your energy. You can even send the scout birds to inspect the area. It wouldn't matter if we lost one. He lifted his bowl of noodles and ate voraciously. while the squirrel perched atop her head wished to taste a bite. When Shu noticed it, a mischievous idea came to mind to use the squirrel. The squirrel was afraid of Lu because she forbade it from dealing with the rats, but when it saw Lu did not oppose, it went to the window and whistled, summoning the rats. Shu said, "Very good. Can we train them to gather information?" The squirrel shook its head and made gestures that Shu did not understand. Lu translated, "He says those rats are stupid and don't understand anything." Indeed, the rats looked utterly foolish. Shu told the squirrel, "Now I will make them drink this magic water to become smarter, and you will control them." The squirrel nodded in agreement. It lined the rats up and made each drink from the water. At that moment, the rats transformed into smart, soft-furred creatures. The line dwindled until it was empty. All the rats were now under the squirrel's control. The squirrel signaled Sho that the mission was accomplished. However, Sho was frustrated because he could not understand the squirrel. He said Lu must always translate for him. He sat thinking of a solution to improve communication between him and the squirrel. Then an idea struck him. He picked up the squirrel and said, "From today, I will teach you to read and write." He sat it in front of a tablet and gave it a pencil, saying, "Start memorizing the letters you see. Every day I will teach you 40 new words, and your homework is to write each word in a full line." The squirrel was scared and muttered to itself, "Why are they doing this to me?" Meanwhile, Lu held her school admission letter, upset about the previous events. Outside, Sho was preparing her bag, recalling childhood days when she was small, and now she was grown and going to school. In the morning, Sho took her to school. Lu was upset about going. Sho quietly advised, "Take care of yourself at school. Do not show your power in front of anyone, and do not hit your classmates." Lu entered the classroom, and the teacher asked the students to welcome the new student. Lu introduced herself reluctantly, and the students were surprised by her coldness. The teacher said, "You cannot bring squirrels to class. We are here to learn." Lu pointed to the squirrel on her forehead and sat in her seat. Meanwhile, Sho went to his high school, happily activating the system after seeing the points Lu had earned for the school. Parents were bidding farewell to their children who, like Sho, had joined the Dragon organization. Teacher Z greeted Sho and thanked him for joining, saying, "From now on, we are colleagues." It was the first time Sho felt someone cared for him. Then Director Xiao stepped onto the platform. All the students stood in line as he began a speech thanking them for joining Dragon. He told them the road ahead was fraught with death and danger, but now they would protect the country. He raised his hand and shouted some passionate words, which the students echoed with fervor. Parents captured this proud moment in photos. Xiao told them, "Within half a month, you will receive your membership permits, uniforms, swords, and all that belongs to the Dragon organization." After the meeting, all students were moved by his words, except Shu, who suddenly noticed a massive influx of points from his sister's school. He thought, "God protect her." Suddenly, a teacher called for him urgently because Lu had caused trouble by hitting classmates. Parents gathered around Lu, shouting at her for hurting their children. Lu did not respond. One mother pushed her, saying, "Don't do this again." Lu got angry and was about to fight, but Shu arrived just in time, apologizing and asking what happened. They told him, "Watch the surveillance cameras and you will understand everything." It turned out Lu and her squirrel had hit and injured the boys. Lu left the room saddened as Sho continued apologizing to the parents, who harshly blamed him because of her. After they left, Lu approached Sho to apologize, but he ignored her completely and walked ahead without speaking. She followed sadly, wanting to apologize, but he kept walking ahead of her. She almost tripped while running after him. He did not speak to her until they reached home. At the doorstep, Lu burst into tears and said, "Forgive me. Please don't send me back to the orphanage. I'm sorry. I know I was wrong. Please don't kick me out." Shu climbed to the rooftop while Lu was still crying below. After a while, he called her to come up. She got up shyly and sat beside him. He asked, "Do you know the mistake you made?" She replied, "Yes. The mistake was bringing the squirrel with me." He said to her, "We must always act wisely because this world is harsh. Therefore, we must be strong. But at the same time, we must be cautious and maintain a balance between strength and caution. Although your power is great, it must not be used to harm others. You must realize the consequences before you take any action." She replied, "Understood." He approached her and said, "I have forgiven you for what you did." She asked him, "And what did you do today?" He answered, "I am about to enter a new matter today, and I want your opinion. Should I fight for the people or not?" She said, "Of course, you must fight for them. We must fight if the people we love are in danger, like our old neighbor, his wife, the nearby vendor, and all those important to us." He said, "I am not talking about them, but about people we do not know." Should we fight for those whose faces or names we don't even know? And all this just because someone called for fighting and defending them? Why would anyone risk danger or death for nothing? She touched his head and said, defend our country. By doing so, you also protect those we love. Sho laughed and said, you have become a wise person now. She stood beside him and said, but I was happy when you defended me today. He replied, of course no one can bother you as long as I am here, but we must admit our mistakes when we make any. The two of them continued talking and laughing together, then stood up joyfully, wishing to always remain well. In one of the old Chinese buildings, a student was training in swordsmanship, with his teacher standing beside him. The teacher was not pleased with the student's performance and said, you need to train more daily. If my master were still alive and saw your level, he would have died because of you. With your current abilities, you need 20 years of training to open the gate. The student heard these words, threw his sword on the ground, feeling frustrated, and began to cry. The teacher approached him and said, do not be upset. Train well, and you will reach your goal. If my master were here, he would have brought you sweets. The student smiled. The teacher said, I will teach you something important. While training with the sword, shout open each time you strike. The student took the sword and shouted open with every hit, continuing this for days but without any result. After 20,000 failed attempts, he sat crying. The teacher said, perhaps swordsmanship is not suitable for you. Tomorrow, I will teach you something else. The student cried even more after hearing this. Time returned to the present, revealing that the student we saw was the old man himself when he was young. His wife asked him, why are you distracted? What is wrong? He replied, I was just remembering the days when I trained in swordsmanship. I thought my teacher was deceiving me, and now I say the same to Sho. He added, it is strange that I spent 2 full years training to open the gate, while Sho managed to open it in only 2 months. He stood and went toward the window, seeing Sho training to open the gate while shouting, open. The old man said, stop shouting, say open just once. Sho replied, the more I train, the better I control the gate's opening. The teacher looked at him in astonishment and said, didn't I tell you before to take your time training? Opening the gate faster is not necessarily better. He felt pain in his stomach and continued training. Each time he opened the gate, he was surrounded by clouds, and he was required to turn the clouds into rain. The problem was that the more clouds surrounded him, the more he suffered from sudden diarrhea and had to rush to the bathroom. Once, Lu was still awake and went to the bathroom, but found the door locked and the bathroom was singing. He said, is it not enough that I run the bathroom? Now it sings too. He came out and said, I was not singing. You must have misheard me. She passed by him on the couch and said, I am sure I heard you singing. He said, no, I was searching for a trip for us. She was very happy with the idea and said, we know we are students and get tickets at half price. We must seize the opportunity and go on many trips before graduation. He said, I have never ridden the green train before, so this time we will take it. And next time, we'll fly. He took his phone and searched for tickets. She looked and said, the green train takes 22 hours. You are so stingy. He laughed and said, this is a new experience for you. She was very annoyed. The next day, Sho was training with the old man in swordsmanship. The old man was teaching him new skills, and Sho was impressed. He gave him the sword and said, show me if you can perform this move. Sho grabbed the sword, opened the gate, and moved to the clouds. He began practicing turning the clouds into rain but did not succeed. The teacher said, did you see how difficult this is? It requires a lot of training. In our days, we didn't sleep to master the clouds, so you must be mentally prepared. Sho said, such training will be very enjoyable. The old man was shocked and said, enjoyable? Sho took the sword and tried again. The teacher entered and watched Sho controlling the clouds. Sho was very focused and skilled. In the end, Sho succeeded in dropping a raindrop, turning the clouds into rain, and producing a distinct gust of wind. The old man was amazed because the powerful ancestors, when turning clouds into rain, had a distinct sound like the wave of the sea. He asked his teacher about this sound, who replied, I do not know. I have never heard it before. But the elders say it sounds like the sea wave. Currently, the old man was very annoyed because all this training caused him severe diarrhea. Sho said, I feel I succeeded in turning clouds into rain. The old man said, don't be too happy. You have a long way ahead. After turning clouds into rain, you must turn rain into rivers and rivers into seas. Then the old man rested while Sho continued training. After a while, Sho said, I have decided to go on a trip with Lu. The old man was happy and said, it's good to change the atmosphere and go for leisure. The next morning, Sho woke up early, had breakfast with Lu, packed their bags for the trip, and set off. Lu ran quickly to beat Sho to the station. When they arrived, Sho said, was it necessary for you to buy a pink bag? How can a man like me carry a feminine bag? She said, I bought it because I'm a girl. You don't like it? That's your problem. Sho was shocked by her reply, and everyone at the station stared at them. Sho took the bag and inspected it. The clerk asked him, is this pink bag yours? Sho replied, yes, it's mine. The clerk apologized. Sorry if I was mistaken. He checked the bag and asked, does it contain animals? The rules prohibit animals on the train. Sho said, do you mean the squirrel? It's a toy, not a living animal. Just decoration. The clerk looked suspiciously into the squirrel's eyes while it remained still. A man passing by was eating chips, and the squirrel, very hungry, couldn't resist. It stared at him, which startled the clerk, and Sho took them away. Sho said to the squirrel, from now on, you will see tough days. I will make you memorize 80,000 words a day. The squirrel tugged at its hair and then looked at Lu, who was wide-eyed. Sho asked, can you climb? The squirrel replied, yes. Sho said, quickly pass through this opening, and we will meet on the platform in front of the train. The squirrel climbed up, gave the OK sign, and went ahead. Sho and Lu arrived at the platform in front of the train with 2 tickets. Sho said to her, I have a lower bunk and a middle one. Which do you prefer? She replied, I'll take the middle bunk. At that moment, a squirrel leapt down toward them from above. Lu handed it a chip, and the squirrel nearly burst into tears from joy, overwhelmed by her kindness. Sho asked in surprise, what's wrong with it? It was time to board the train. Lu was thrilled. They entered and headed toward their cabin, where they found 4 young men playing cards in their seats. Sho said politely, excuse me, this is my seat. The young man with purple hair replied, sit down for now. We'll finish the round, then get up. Sho knocked on the upper bunk and asked, what's this? The boy replied, the upper bunk. Sho knocked again and asked about the other one, the middle bunk. What else would it be? A third knock. And this one? The boy answered sharply, clearly annoyed. The lower bunk, obviously. Sho responded, no, this one is my lower bunk. The young man grew irritated. What do you mean? I won't let you sit on that bed. But Sho felt an aura emanating from them. He immediately knew the boy was a student from the Doujin class, yet so low-ranked that even a squirrel could likely beat him. The boy's classmate intervened. Enough, leave him be. We're from Doujin. We don't need to get into fights with ordinary people. Sho smiled. Excellent. So, you're from Doujin? The boy replied, yes. What about you? Sho answered confidently, I'm a reformist. The girl, Lyra, burst out laughing at his appearance. The boy sneered, and what exactly do you reform? Sho replied, I reform people I don't like. The boy was stunned by the response and nearly threw a punch, but his companions stopped him just before the ticket inspector arrived. They had no choice but to give up the seats. Sho placed the pink suitcase on the top rack. He and Lu stood, mesmerized by the view, as the train moved through the landscape. That evening, while Lu was asleep, Sho snuck off to a private spot and swallowed a fruit. He began training, and soon a phantom sword appeared in his hand. He started to channel energy into it. When he launched an attack, the glass in front of him shattered. Sho was stunned. He felt his power had doubled since unlocking the gate. He tried to replicate it, but failed. He knew he hadn't mastered it yet. He approached the window and muttered, I suppose I'll have to pay for the broken glass. He went to the inspector's room, left some money, and walked away without being seen. By morning, Sho tried to wake Lu, but she refused. He said, get up quickly so you can use the restroom before it gets crowded. She didn't respond. He teased, if you get up now, I'll make you noodles. She jumped up immediately. They went together to brush their teeth. Sho began preparing noodles as promised, while Lu waited. Sho brought the noodles, though he seemed uncomfortable, likely due to yesterday's training. Lu took the noodles and began to eat. Across from them, the 4 young men from earlier were talking about the black market. The purple-haired boy said to his friend, some people sell weapons, magical tools, even enchanted stones. She scoffed. Are those your relatives? Can we even trust them? He replied, we'll go and see, she said, but I don't even know the price of a magic stone. My family only gave me 50,000. He responded, I have 120,000. Sho suddenly remembered what his friend Ji had said in Season 1, that a single enchanted stone could cost up to 100,000. He smirked slyly. The boy noticed and asked, why are you laughing? Sho replied, if someone had a magic stone, how much do you think they'd sell it for? The boy laughed mockingly. The weak make up for their lack of power with money. Sho said, so your problem is poverty then? The boy snapped, who are you calling poor? And what power do you even have? Look at what you're eating. Noodles. Lu responded, do the noodles bother you? Sho pulled out a file. We're with Dragnet. We don't need constant supervision from our leader, unlike you. The boy and girl were stunned when they realized Sho was part of Dujin's elite. Energy points flooded from them, and they were speechless. Sho told them, you're just 4 from Class E, you're nothing. They couldn't believe they were facing a prodigy from the elite. Sho revealed an enchanted stone. Isn't this what you were looking for? They froze in place. Sho said, unfortunately, your money isn't enough to buy this stone. They sat in silence, not daring to respond. The train arrived at the station. Sho carried his bags while the 4 young men stayed seated, quiet. Sho and Lu watched them from a distance. Lu asked, aren't we having dinner? Sho said, keep your voice down. We don't want them to hear. We'll follow them, find the black market, sell the stone, and then I'll treat you to whatever you like. They continued tracking them until a man in red appeared. Sho suspected he was the black market broker, but after checking his energy, he realized the man had no magical power. He concluded the man was a relative who came to pick them up. Sho whispered to Lu, something's off. That man has no magic energy. How would he know about the black market? Lu asked, so are we going to follow them? He replied, of course. We've got nothing to lose. They began chasing the group, leaping across rooftops until the car stopped in a narrow alley and everyone got out for dinner. Sho noticed another car nearby, radiating magical energy. He knew something was off. He told Lu, stay here. I'll be right back. He walked swiftly to the car and knocked on the window. The man rolled it down and asked, is there a problem? Sho said, do you have the time? The man replied, no, and closed the window. Sho knocked again. Then do you have a phone? No, he said, closing the window again. Sho knocked a third time. The man was clearly losing patience. Sho asked, sorry, but what time is it now? The man replied, check your phone. Sho said, I forgot it. The man said, it's 6:30. Sho thanked him and returned to Lu. He told her he suspected the man was from Dragnet, possibly a high-ranking member. He asked her to test the man herself. Lu approached the car and found a note taped to the window. I don't know the time. I don't have a watch. I don't have a phone. I don't have anything. Annoyed, she removed the note. The man rolled down the window and asked, is there a problem? She replied, nothing. I just wanted to tell you. It's 6:44 now. The man was stunned. She laughed. I found your note. He gave a forced smile, took the note from her, and thanked her. Lu returned to Sho, and together they concluded the man was definitely part of Dragnet. Sho gave the squirrel a chip and told Lu, I'm going after them. You and the squirrel stay here and wait for me. Before leaving, he said seriously, your safety is my top priority. If you sense any danger, run immediately. I'll find you at the black market. She agreed, and Sho dashed off, masked. He wandered through the stalls, checking magical tools, but realized they were fake. He began to suspect the entire market was a sham. Meanwhile, the 4 boys wandered the market, confused, unable to distinguish real items from fake. Sho, still in disguise, kept following them until a vendor called out, come, let me show you my goods. Sho stepped forward. The vendor laughed and tried to fool him. Sho walked away, realizing it was all fake. The vendor called out, wait, you have magical energy, don't you? Sho replied, why do you ask? The vendor said, because I have exactly what you're looking for. Sho approached. The vendor whispered, we don't show the real items out in the open, but if you're a true fighter, I'll show you what I'm hiding. Sho said, sounds great. Just try to sound a bit more convincing. The vendor said, I don't have magical weapons, but I do have an enchanted stone. Sho replied, show it to me. The vendor said, first, show me your power. He placed an orb in Sho's hand, asking him to demonstrate. Sho crushed it instantly, then smacked the vendor on the head, knocking him down. The vendor stood up and said, all right, follow me. The man kept walking with Sho silently following him until they reached a small room. He knocked on the door and someone came out, instantly sensing Sho's power. He realized Sho was one of the awakened, from Class A. Without a word, the man pulled out a small box and closed the door behind him. Sho opened the box and the man revealed the magic stones inside. Sho exclaimed with amazement, incredible. These stones are better than the ones I already have. The merchant replied, I wanted you to realize I'm not like the other sellers. They all deal in counterfeit goods. None of them have anything genuine like what I carry. Sho asked, and how much do you sell them for? The seller said, forget the price for now. Think about how much time this stone could save you in training, how much power it could help you gain. Tell me, how much would you pay? Sho responded, fine, but tell me your price. With a sly smile, the merchant said, you want me to sell you these stones? These are the future, my son. Sho insisted, yes, but I still need to know how much. The man replied, 1,800,000. Sho chuckled, honestly, you should be asking for more. The merchant blinked, surprised. More? How so? Shu leaned forward, resting his hand on the merchant's shoulder. Let me tell you the real price. Like you said, these stones are the future. Money? Just paper. It can't compare to time or to the future. The merchant was stunned, unable to respond. Then he muttered, fine. I'll sell them to you for 200,000. Shu replied, 200,000? That's a very reasonable price. The merchant handed over the stones, but before walking away, Shu placed his hand on his shoulder again and said, did you see what I just got? I now own the future. For just 200,000. What do you say? Want to buy it from me? The seller stammered, I mean, that's still a bit expensive. Shu replied, all right then, let's settle it at 180,000. Like we originally said. The merchant fumed, but eventually gave in after a long negotiation and sold the stones for just 118,000. Shu took the money and tucked it away. The seller muttered, I can't believe I sold you something that valuable. Shu replied calmly, don't worry, I still have more. The merchant was speechless. After Shu left, the seller sat down with the man who had originally handed him the stones. It turned out to be his son. The two began discussing Shu and the terrifying strength he had shown when he shattered the orb in mere seconds. The merchant pulled out one of the stones, reflecting on everything that had happened. Meanwhile, Shu double-checked the money and confirmed it was real. As he walked, he murmured to himself, back when I sold tofu and eggs, I never even came close to this kind of money. He continued on his way, until suddenly, he sensed a magical aura coming from a nearby merchant wearing a face mask. Curious, Shu approached him to investigate. He started browsing the goods. Shu asked, is your merchandise authentic? The masked seller replied coldly, no. Shu kept browsing, while the seller stared at him in frustration. Suddenly, the system scanned the man and identified his status. Shu checked it and saw that while the man wasn't weak, he wasn't from the Dagon either. Suddenly, Shu grabbed his hand and asked, who are you really? The seller tensed up, but Shu said, relax. I'm not here to arrest you. I just wanted to see your goods. The man answered, I have something, but I only trade it for magic stones. Shu replied, I have stones. The real question is your item worth the trade? The seller responded, you'll need to give me at least 5 stones. Shu thought to himself, magical weapons are rare these days. Trading 5 stones for one might not be such a loss. He pulled out a stone and said, here's one. Now show me your item. The seller agreed. All right. Follow me. He led Shu down a narrow alley until they reached an empty space. The merchant pulled out a covered object. Shu looked at it and said, doesn't look like a magical weapon to me. But once the cloth was removed, Shu felt the intense magical energy. He realized the covering had been suppressing the energy flow. It turned out to be a magic vial. Shu asked, what does it do? The seller explained, when you hold it, charge it with your energy and call someone's name. Shu interrupted, what happens? Does the person appear? The man answered, no, their energy gets absorbed. Shu looked away, unimpressed. I don't believe you. The seller replied, I'll show you. He pointed the vial at Shu and called out a name. The vial charged up and shot energy at Shu, but Shu dodged it in time. Shu thought, if that person had really been nearby, would it have absorbed them? Then he asked to try it himself. He took the vial, called out someone's name, and the energy began to build. Suddenly, Shu's star map appeared, disrupting the process. He thought to himself, so, I need to pour my own energy into it for it to work. The seller was confused that it hadn't activated, but Shu said, your item is broken, man. The seller gasped. What? Shu returned the vial. It doesn't work. I don't want it. But the seller grabbed his arm. You just saw it work. The problem's with you. Fine. I'll lower the price. 4 stones. Shu paused, thought, and then accepted. He handed over 4 magic stones. The seller threw him the vial and shouted, no returns, no refunds, then ran away. Shu stepped out of the alley and removed his mask. As he walked through the market, a boy with purple hair spotted him and said, you were following us, weren't you? Shu placed a hand on his shoulder and said, this market is full of wonders. Buy whatever catches your eye. Then he left and returned to Luo, who was fuming because her shirt had been torn. Shu had used it as a mask. He told her, don't worry, I'll buy you a new one. Besides, I made a lot of money today. How about I treat you to some meat tomorrow? Luo lit up with excitement, already imagining the meat, her mouth watering. She said, then let's hurry and sleep so we can eat tomorrow. Shu replied, wait, there's still something left. From the rooftop, he spotted 4 guys passing below. He said, I got a new weapon and I want to test it now. Luo kicked him and snapped, stop bullying people. Shu answered, it's not bullying. I'm just testing its effect. He charged the vial with energy and hurled it at the purple-haired boy, but the boy sensed the attack just in time. He would have discovered them if they hadn't hidden at the last moment. The 4 guys left, finding no one there. Shu thought, did he sense me? No, it must have been the vial. Maybe it alerts the person whose name you call. He tested it again on a man sleeping in a cart. The man instantly woke up and hit his head. Shu muttered, Something's wrong. I was told this thing would absorb people, but that guy tricked me. He looked at the vial and said, let's go. Tomorrow I'll treat you to that meat. The next morning, they went to a restaurant. Shu ordered 3 plates of meat. The chef was confused why 1 plate was for a squirrel, but still prepared the food. Shu stood in front of him, insisting repeatedly, more meat, more meat, more meat. The chef, frustrated, replied, why don't you come cook it yourself? Luo finished her plate quickly and was thrilled with the meal. The squirrel, however, still had a full plate. Shu took a piece from the squirrel's plate and gave it to Luo. The squirrel nearly cried and snapped his stick in frustration. Shu asked him, did you memorize the words I gave you yesterday? The squirrel glanced quickly at his plate and silently finished what remained. Luo was absolutely delighted with the meal, stolen as it was, while the squirrel was fuming. Meanwhile, Shu sat back thinking, ever since that squirrel ate the enchanted apple, his energy has increased a lot. I wonder what would happen if I gave him another one. Luo then asked, where are we going next? Shu replied, to the station. We're heading to Mount Ryo. At the station, Shu took out a magical apple and said to the squirrel, this is a reward for you. The squirrel didn't believe it at first, but he couldn't resist the apple and devoured it in one bite. Suddenly, his strength increased, and fur began to sprout from his body. At that moment, the driver called out to Shu to board the bus, so he said to her, let's get on quickly and continue our conversation later. Before boarding, Shu noticed the vendor he had seen yesterday also getting on, heading in the direction of the mountain. Shu and Lulu boarded the bus, and Shu kept his eyes on the vendor in front of him, sensing that he was anxious. The man was carrying a strange-looking compass. Then, the 4 young men they had met the previous day boarded as well, and one of them joked, are you following us everywhere, man? The bus took off, accompanied by a tour guide who began talking about the 3 days they would spend on the mountain. He explained to them about Mount Ryo, saying that its name was derived from a princess of ancient times. According to legend, this princess possessed a mirror, and one day, overwhelmed by sadness and anger, she hurled it to the ground, shattering it into 2 halves. One half landed on the eastern hill, the other on the western hill. By sunset, they had reached the mountain and began setting up their tents. Shu and Lulu sat facing the sea, enjoying the beauty of the sunset. He asked her, when do you feel happy? She replied, when I go shopping with you, or when I see you cooking, and we sit down to eat together afterward. I truly find happiness when I eat with you. At that moment, she recalled all the times they had shared meals together, and they both savored the sunset. Suddenly, Shu sensed something strange. He saw a person radiating fiery energy running toward a motorcycle. As soon as he saw him, he realized it was Yang, the fire-wielding sorcerer who had appeared at the beginning of Season 1, whom the Dragon Organization was trying to capture. He was the same person who had attempted to burn Shu's hand in front of his house but had failed. What was strange this time was that the energy emanating from him was far more powerful than before, clearly from a different level. Shu decided to follow him to understand what he was planning. He said to Lulu, I'll be back in a bit. Get the tent ready, then took off in pursuit until he saw him reach a tent where the vendor Shu had bought from was waiting. Shu stood outside the tent, eavesdropping on their conversation. The vendor said, you must be more cautious this time. We're dealing with fighters from the outside. Don't let the Dragon Organization capture you again. Yang responded, you know how much I suffered escaping from Dragon. Upon hearing the phrase, fighters from the outside, Shu immediately sensed they were planning something dangerous. Yang continued, I don't think the gent are watching us now. I heard they're opening the ATAB soon. So we need to act quickly before they turn their attention to us. Tell me where the object on the mountain is so we can escape to the outside. There, we'll bring in foreign fighters into the ATAB and find magical weapons we can sell on the black market to become rich. The vendor replied, can we rely on these foreign fighters? You know it's hard to enter the ATAB. Yang assured him, don't worry, they have their own ways. What matters now is whether the compass works well. We need to find the mirror I'm searching for. The vendor answered confidently, don't worry. The compass works perfectly and indicates the mirror is right here. At that moment, Shu understood why the vendor had seemed anxious since the beginning of the trip. He was planning to smuggle magical weapons out of the country. Yang continued, we'll take the motorcycle now and reach Mount Ryo in less than an hour. There, we'll seize the precious mirror. As they began moving, Shu backed away from the tent, thinking of how to prevent them from stealing the mirror. He kept watching Blung as he approached the motorcycle. Suddenly, without hesitation, Shu dashed forward, grabbed the motorcycle, hoisted it onto his shoulder, and began running with it. While Yang stood there stunned, unable to comprehend what was happening, Shu was running like a horse, overwhelmed with joy. He ran along the road until a truck appeared ahead of him. When the driver saw a man sprinting while carrying a motorcycle, he panicked and slammed the brakes. But suddenly, Shu leapt over the truck with the motorcycle, leaving everyone in utter disbelief. Meanwhile, Elyang kept running after him, shouting for him to stop. But Shu didn't stop and kept running tirelessly. Elyang became exhausted and called the vendor. "Come quickly to the mountain." The vendor asked, "Why? Where's your motorcycle?" He replied, "It was stolen." The vendor exploded, "Come to the mountain immediately." Shortly after, Elyang arrived, panting, astonished that the thief hadn't tired out. The vendor also arrived, gasping for air, and asked, "Who stole the motorcycle?" Elyang answered, "I don't know." The vendor said, "I can understand someone stealing it while riding it, but carrying it on the shoulder and running off?" Blang then said, "I don't know, but aren't you supposed to be level D? How did you not catch him?" Elyang responded, "I've never seen anything like that in my life. That person must be from level C." Suddenly the vendor asked, "Did you fight anyone?" Elyang replied, "No." Blang began to wonder, what would motivate someone to do that? He concluded that the information must have leaked, possibly from someone within Dragon, since only they could do something that foolish. They then continued toward the mountain to find out who had stolen the motorcycle. On the other side, reports reached the Dragon organization, indicating that someone had been seen running while carrying a motorcycle, but surveillance cameras couldn't capture his face due to his speed. One agent said, "He might be a professional fighter." Another replied, "Impossible. No professional would do something that ridiculous." The commander ordered all units to be deployed to search for him and personally set out with his team. They questioned every patrol but found nothing. Before leaving, he ordered them to continue the search. As for Shu, he had arrived at Mount Ryo, threw the motorcycle aside while singing, and began searching for the mirror they had intended to steal. He activated his skill to detect any magical energy, and once he sensed it, he rushed toward it. He stood at the spot emitting the energy and felt a hollow beneath his feet. He took out his Eye of Formation and transformed it into a drilling weapon. After he finished digging, Sho descended into the cave, using his phone's flashlight to light the way. He walked slowly and cautiously until he accidentally stepped on a trap. Sharp arrows shot toward him from every direction, but he miraculously managed to dodge them and continued his advance until he reached a strange chamber at the end of the cave. The room was dimly lit, with a stone table in the center, covered in a thin layer of dust. As he approached it, he found the half of the shattered mirror mentioned in the legend. The moment he tried to touch it, an intense light burst from it, nearly blinding him. He couldn't open his eyes, which burned and turned red from the brightness as tears streamed down his cheeks. At that moment, he received a system notification informing him that the two individuals who had been chasing him had reached his location. They had stopped outside the cave, near the motorcycle lying on the ground. Liang turned to the seller and grabbed him firmly, saying, "This means he's looking for the mirror too. You must have betrayed me." The seller replied angrily, "Me? How would I even know where your bike was? How can you accuse me of betrayal?" Liang shouted, "I didn't tell anyone where it was. That means it must be you." The seller retorted stubbornly, "And I didn't tell anyone either." Liang replied curtly, "It doesn't matter now. Take out the compass so we can locate the mirror. We'll settle our score later." The seller pulled out a magical compass which pointed to the same spot inside the cave. The two of them hurried toward the hole that Sho had dug. Liang stood at the edge and said to the seller, "You go down first." The seller protested, "Why should I go down? Why don't you just burn the whole place and be done with it?" Sho shouted from inside the hole, "Don't burn it. I'm coming up now." Liang asked, "What did you find down there?" Sho replied, "I found half of the mirror. If you promise not to burn the place, I'll throw it up to you." Liang said, "Then throw it quickly." Sho threw the half mirror and Liang caught it joyfully. He asked, "And where's the other half?" Sho answered, "This is all there is. The other half isn't here." Liang said, "Then stay in the hole. I won't pull you out until we confirm it's the real mirror." Sho said, "Believe me, it's the original. Try it if you want." They tried it, and as soon as they opened their eyes toward it, a burning light shot out again, nearly blinding them both, causing the mirror to fall from their hands to the ground. Sho quickly climbed out of the hole and took the mirror. Liang tried to strike him with magical fire, but the attack missed and instead hit the seller, burning him severely. Seeing the chaos, Sho slipped his hand into his pocket and teleported away using magic. Liang, furious at the seller, struck him again with fire. Then he suddenly turned and was shocked to see Sho running away, carrying the motorcycle on his shoulder. Both Liang and the seller immediately descended the mountain. mountain, trying to catch up with him. But Sho was ahead, running with the bike still hoisted on his shoulder. They continued on foot until they saw a car approaching. The seller shouted, "That's a Dragon Force vehicle. We have to run." But Liang grabbed him and said, "Run from what? We didn't do anything. Let's just walk calmly." The car stopped, and the unit commander stepped out and asked, "Did you see someone running with a motorcycle on their shoulder?" Liang answered, "No, we didn't see anything. Who would carry a motorcycle on their shoulder anyway?" The commander smirked sarcastically and continued on, then suddenly stopped the car again and said, "Wait a second. You two are wearing strange clothes. Who are you? And what are you doing here?" The seller panicked and started laughing for no reason. Liang turned to answer, but he was no longer beside him. He had already run off. The seller was forced to chase him, but the commander got out of the car and unleashed a magical skill that summoned vine-like cuffs, which wrapped around the seller. He cried out, "Liang, help me!" Liang paused and launched a fire attack at the commander, but the commander blocked it easily and ordered the rest of the team to chase Liang. Meanwhile, the seller kept screaming, "Don't leave me!" But Liang ignored him, so the seller pointed at him and shouted, "The one running away is Liang. He's from Category D and is a fugitive from Dragon Force." As soon as Liang heard that, he turned back furiously and launched a fire attack at the seller, who quickly pulled out a magical cloth that reflected the attack and set the whole area ablaze. The commander then realized the seller was trying to burn the entire site, so he ordered his forces to capture him immediately. The seller shielded himself with the magical cloth and stayed hidden, while Liang attacked the team again, but the commander blocked his attack. In that moment, rage burned in the commander's eyes. He activated one of his strongest skills. A massive orb of energy formed in his hand, radiating terrifying power. Liang froze in place, trembling and hesitant, and eventually raised his hands in surrender. The commander cancelled his skill and ordered the soldiers to restrain both Liang and the seller. They dragged them toward the vehicle. Before they entered, the commander turned and asked Liang, "Why were you carrying the motorcycle and running?" Liang said, "I swear it wasn't me." The seller said, "The bike was stolen. The thief went that way." The commander didn't believe either of them, but he ordered the troops to continue the search, suspecting the presence of a third person. He then received a call from the team in the cave, informing him that they had found nothing in Mount Ryoma's cave. He asked, "Then what was in the cave?" The seller answered, "The person who stole the bike took something important, the princess's mirror." The commander was surprised and said, "You mean the old legend people talk about? What good is a mirror like that?" The seller replied, "It can generate a blinding light that draws extreme attention." The commander laughed sarcastically and said, "You think I'll believe such nonsense?" Meanwhile, Sho had gone far, laughing joyfully as he ran with the motorcycle on his shoulder, collecting magical points from Liang and the seller. He kept running until he neared the camp. He dropped the bike to the ground and found Luo sleeping outside the tent. He stepped inside and said, "Sorry for the delay. I was dealing with some bad people, but I brought something important." Luo woke up excitedly and said, "Next time, let me fight with you." "So, what did you bring?" He pulled out the mirror and said, "The princess's mirror the tour guide told us about." Luo was thrilled and asked if she could have it. He replied, "No, I'm not giving it to you." She got upset, pushed him, and stormed into the tent angrily. At that moment, a dragon patrol passed by the camp. Liang and the seller were inside the vehicle. Soon after, a traffic jam occurred, and Sho stopped to see what was going on. He was thinking about what the criminals had said, about ruins that would open soon and the arrival of foreign fighters. He pulled out his phone, intending to report it to someone in authority, but he hesitated and decided to investigate on his own. As he was walking, someone called out to him from afar. It was his friend Ji. Sho said, "I was on a trip with Luo. What are you doing here?" Ji replied, "Some ruins are about to open and they've been looking for you to join us." Sho was surprised and asked, "I'm allowed to enter?" Ji said, "Yes, because you're one of the top students who made great achievements in the last ruins." Sho felt proud and happy that he would have a role in the events to come. On the morning of the next day, the students participating in the trip were arguing with the tour guide due to the trip being cancelled. The guide said to them, "The trip was cancelled against my will. It was the security forces that prevented the bus from entering." The boy with the purple hair replied, "Since we're going back, return our money." The guide responded, "The problem isn't mine. It's a state issue." The argument continued until Shu and Lu entered. The guide asked him, "Where are you going?" Shu replied, "We're heading to the ruins that are about to open soon." Shortly after, Shu and Lu arrived at the site of the ruins. The security guard allowed Shu to pass because he had valid identification, but he stopped Lu because she had none. Then Ji intervened quickly and resolved the situation, handing the guard Lu's file. The guard took it and went to his superior to ask for permission for her to enter. Shu and Lu looked at Ji and smiled at him gratefully. After receiving permission, they were both allowed to enter. They entered the camp, and Lu was astonished by what she saw, as it was her first time experiencing something like this. Shu, on the other hand, suddenly felt a powerful presence near the shore. That man was an old and incredibly strong elder named Chen, who resembled Shu's elderly neighbor, Li, who lived nearby. Outside the camp, there was traffic congestion. From one of the buses, a group of people got off and gathered around a large rock. Then a strange fighter appeared and thanked them for coming from different parts of the world as foreign combatants. He told them the ruins were about to open and that the senior leaders had appointed him in charge of this operation. The head of the dragon forces was currently busy solving some issues in the south, and so could not personally oversee this mission. As for Elder Chen, who had arrived here, the leaders knew how to deal with him, and soon they would dispatch professional fighters to kill him. He added, "As for us, we will be responsible for facing any resistance inside the ruins, and we must seize the Eye of Formation." At that moment, Shu recalled what happened 2 months ago when he visited his elderly neighbor Li and asked him to inspect his new sword. The old man took the sword, examined it, then threw it back and said, "This is an ordinary sword, useless." Shu felt disappointed. The elder said to him, "Don't be sad. We are of a different lineage than the dragonette. We use the sword of mind. With it we can turn anything into a sword." Shu replied, "But this sword of mind isn't something you can buy with money." The old man's face darkened upon hearing those words. He walked off to drink water, then returned and said, "The sword you have can be enhanced by adding certain materials." Shu asked him, "What do you think of today's fighters? Are they talented?" The old man replied, "Yes, there are talented ones. The commander of the dragon forces is the best fighter in the east, a true elite genius. He's responsible for the borders, and with him there, no foreigner dares breach them. The second genius is his assistant. Sure, he's the true founder of the dragonette after me, though he doesn't have many qualifications. His will and determination are the core of his talent. With people like these, no one knows what the future may bring. And then there's the fighter Xiao, who runs like a madman." Shu and the elder laughed when Xiao's name was mentioned. The old man continued, "There's also an elder named Chen, responsible for protecting the south. His strength is astonishing after decades of training, but his problem is his temper. He's always grumpy and short-tempered." At that moment, Shu returned to reality and realized the strong breeze he felt earlier by the sea had come from Chen himself. Shu stood there thinking, will these foreign fighters be different from the rest of the camp? Soon after, he took Lu and led her to the tent. As they passed by the cook, Lu smelled the food and stopped, unwilling to move. Shu had no choice but to carry her himself to the tent. Inside the tent, they met a chubby student named Xuan, who greeted them and introduced himself as an E rank. When Shu saw his watch, he kept staring at it. Xuan didn't understand what had caught his attention. Shu was mesmerized by the golden watch on Xuan's wrist. His eyes sparkled with a love for money. He grabbed Xuan's hand and said, "My name is Shu. I'm also E rank. You said your name is Xuan, right? Where are you from? How old are you? How much did that watch cost?" Lu and the squirrel were baffled by Shu's behavior. Shu snapped out of his amazement and felt he had ruined the mood, while Xuan stood shocked and speechless. Shu shook his hand and walked away. He then met another person wearing a suit. Shu said to him, "I heard you accomplished something in the last ruins." The man introduced himself. "My name is Gao, D rank." At that moment, Xuan got angry and said, "I came to greet you earlier and you ignored me. Do you hate me?" Shu pushed him aside and told Gao, "I'm the one who achieved those accomplishments in the ruins." Gao asked, "How are you still E rank?" Shu feigned modesty and replied, "Unfortunately, I'm E rank, the lowest among the awakened." Xuan whispered to Shu while looking at Lu, "Why did you bring kids with you? I heard the commander say that when we enter the land of radiance, we won't be able to fight if they're with us." Shu said, "But the commander didn't say that." Xuan replied, "He talks too much. How would I know?" Shu told him, "Great. Go ask him and come back." Xuan received a verbal slap from Shu that left him unable to respond. Soon after, it was lunchtime. People stood in a long line. Shu and Lu waited until it was their turn. When the cook saw Lu, he was delighted to see a little girl in the camp. He said to her, "I'll recommend you. You're precious to us." Lu was very happy and handed him her plate with joy. After getting their food, she sat with Shu to eat. He told her, "Eat comfortably. No one will say anything to you." She asked him, "Can I enter the ruins with you?" Then pointed at Xuan and said, "I'm stronger than him. I don't think he could even beat the squirrel." Shu replied, "Maybe he has some special skill we don't know about." Lu answered, I don't see any skill in him other than eating a lot. Shu laughed and told her, you really are stronger than him. She proudly said, of course I am. Shu said, I really wish you could enter the ruins with us, but I don't know how. As for Xuan, he was busy eating and reading about his teammates on his phone. He first read about Gao, whose family lives on the border. It was said he once faced a drug dealer and killed 4 armed men alone. The second was Ji, who had killed 6 of the ruins' bones. The third was Shu. Xuan was amazed by what he read, that Shu had shown outstanding skills, which earned him a spot in the Dragonette forces. He was even more shocked to learn that in the last ruins, Shu had defeated an army of skeletal knights alone and sold their magical weapons to everyone inside. At that moment, Xuan realized that Shu was their true leader. After lunch, they went out to the training yard of the camp where they found a large number of students from the Doujin class had arrived. Shu began examining them carefully, searching for any foreign fighters who might have slipped in among them. Xuan asked him, what are you looking at? Shu replied, none of them are wearing a watch. Xuan raised his hand and said, my watch costs 80,000, and I have even more expensive things at home. Gao said, I don't understand what's so entertaining about boasting over an 80,000 watch. Xuan thought to himself, you must be jealous. Ji then said, I don't know these students' qualifications. I fear they'll be a burden like in the previous ruins. Some of them got scared and couldn't handle it. Xuan replied, right. Do you guys know a girl named Si? Gao said, I've heard of her. They say she killed all the monsters in the last ruins. Shu said, you're right. Si really is a genius fighter. She managed to defeat many monsters with incredible skill and strength. At that moment, Si arrived at the camp. Shu said, there she is. Xuan went to greet her and introduce himself, but she ignored him. Then Gao straightened his tie and greeted her, but she ignored him too. The two of them stood speechless, and the 4 of them continued walking onward. Zhuo asked Xuan, you still don't know who's going to be in charge of the team this time? Xuan grew irritated by the question and replied, I have no idea who it'll be. All I know is that this person has a bad temper and is easily angered. But a word of advice. Don't speak English in front of him. Zhuo asked, why shouldn't I speak English in front of him? Xuan answered, you could never guess the reason. But what's important is that you avoid English altogether. The consequences could be dire, especially if you mix English with Chinese. Moments later they reached their tent. Ji asked him, why are you so focused on Xuan's watch? Planning to make a fortune like you did last time? Zhuo smiled and answered, of course I want to. As you know, life needs money. I'm not like you. I have a family to support. Ji looked at him sternly and said, a day will come when you'll have to choose between money and protecting people. What will you choose then? Zhuo replied, it's true people love money, but if we go through life just barely getting by, we won't have to rely on cheap means to get it. Ji was pleased by his response. He then showed Zhuo his phone and said, there's some info saying the strength of the beasts inside the ruins varies each time. Zhuo asked, are you saying this time will be harder than the last? Ji replied, yes. Just then Lu entered and said to Zhuo, I found a beautiful spot here. Come with me. I want to take some amazing photos by the sea. Zhuo pulled out his phone and said, take your pictures here. But she replied, no, I want beautiful ones. Zhuo flared up. Have I ever taken bad pictures of you before? In the end, they went together to the sea. Lu was overjoyed by the scenery. They walked until they reached an old man named Qin, standing with his back to the sea. Zhuo and Lu were about to return to camp when Elder Qin said, stop. Who told you to leave? They were puzzled. Zhuo asked, do you need anything, sir? The old man replied, I've heard good things about you from Xiao. Hopefully we'll do a fine job together in the ruins. Zhuo laughed, and Qin responded, you laugh? Then suddenly, he performed a powerful skill that made the birds fall into the sea. Zhuo was stunned and thought to himself, just how powerful is he? The old man approached him and said, what you did in the last ruins annoyed me. Are you planning to interfere with my work too? Zhuo was flustered and replied, no. The elder said, wait, if you do plan to interfere then say so. If not, then be honest. Then he looked at Lu and said, well, little one, how about taking the old path and training under me? Lu hid behind Zhuo and said, I don't want to. The elder was shocked, and points appeared above his head. Zhuo thought to himself, when I refused to train with him, no points showed up. But when Lu refused, they did. That means he only wants Lu to train under him. The old man was surprised by how quickly she refused. He then said, the ruins will open soon. Use this time to train well. Zhuo and Lu thanked him and started to leave. But just seconds later, he called Lu back. What skill have you awakened? Sure, others may like your skill, but I might not. Zhuo said, "It's top tier." The elder was surprised. Lu hid behind Zhuo once more. He told her, "No one will dare mess with you if you train under me, so what do you say?" She replied, "No." He said, "I'll give you a magical weapon if you agree." She answered, "No." He snapped and asked, "Why don't you want to train?" She replied, "Because some people are hot-tempered and ill-mannered." The old man grew furious and asked, "Who told you that?" Then he unleashed another skill, making the birds fall into the sea again. At that moment, the fog began to draw near. The elder informed them that the ruins were about to open. Then suddenly, he called out to everyone in the camp to get ready. The fighters gathered and were divided into teams. Zhuo was assigned to one of the teams. He said, "Once we enter the ruins, we'll find ourselves in a random location. We won't know if it's dangerous or not, so we have to be ready." Zhuan, lifting his earpiece, replied, "Don't worry, we're together." Zhuo asked him, "What's your skill?" Zhuan said, "I'll tell you, but don't laugh. My skill is that I don't feel hungry when I'm full." Zhuo said, "What kind of skill is that?" "None of us feel hungry if we're full." Zhuan clarified, "Actually, when I eat good food, I can last 15 days without eating again." Zhuo burst out laughing and said, "What an amazing skill! I don't know how we'll survive without you." Zhuan suddenly felt worthless. Then he looked at Lu and asked, "Is this little girl really going into the ruins with us?" Lu gave him a scornful look. Suddenly, Elder Qin said, "This little one is stronger than you, by the way. And you, idiot, mind your own business." Zhuan nearly collapsed, but when he realized it was his grandfather speaking, he shut his mouth immediately. The grandfather said, "Don't open your mouth again or I'll throw you out." Zhuo looked at Zhuan and understood that Elder Qin was his grandfather. Lu asked Zhuan, "Have you ever dared to speak English to him?" He replied, "No, never." They continued walking as the fog thickened. Zhuo held Lu's hand and said, "If we get separated, let's meet in the center of the ruins. I'll wait for you there." She replied, "Okay." She was thrilled to finally work alongside Zhuo. Then they pierced through the fog and entered the ruins. At the same time, the villains and foreign fighters were preparing to break through the fog as well. Zhuo arrived at a place resembling a forest, accompanied by some students who had landed in the same area. The students were terrified of the forest they found themselves in and wanted to hide from danger, while Zhuo silently observed them. They remained frightened until a student named Wei, of a high rank, arrived. One of them said, "It's good that he's with us. All we have to do is follow him." Wei agreed and said, "You must all be cautious in the ruins and watch out for one another. Since we're a large group, we'll form a team, and I'll be the leader." Everyone agreed. He continued, "First, we need to choose a direction. Any suggestions?" One of them said, "We could follow the sun's direction." But when they looked up, the trees were too dense for sunlight to reach them. Wei said, "That won't work." Suddenly, Zhuo said from the back, "Then let's follow the moon." The leader grew furious and turned to the group. "We'll try climbing a mountain to get a view of the entire forest, then decide from there." Everyone liked the idea and agreed. But Zhuo seized the moment and said, "Why don't I climb a tree first?" He earned a few points from the leader, but the leader cleverly replied, "Since it's your suggestion, go ahead and climb the tree." Zhuo laughed and said, "You want me to climb when the tree's right in front of you? What if I get hurt?" Everyone was angered by his words and deducted points from him. Zhuo said, "I was just joking. You took it too seriously. I'm not one of those selfish people who are scared of death and send their comrades to explore in their place." The poor leader couldn't respond from sheer frustration, while Zhuo opened his system, delighted by how many points he'd gained. The team continued walking until they stopped by a tree. Zhuo climbed its trunk. Suddenly, a snake appeared and attacked him, but Zhuo grabbed its tail before it reached him, opened its mouth, and pulled out its fangs. The snake too emitted frustration points. Then Zhuo threw the snake down onto the students' heads, earning a large number of points. As he stood on the tree, he thought, if animals give off points too, why not take advantage? I could pull their fangs one by one. He felt the sturdy trunk beneath his feet. Looking around, he saw a vast forest stretching into the horizon. He then remembered what Ji had told him. The strength of spiritual energy in the ruins isn't constant in every area. Zhuo began to sense the spiritual energy around him and detected a massive force coming from ahead. He realized this must be the center of the ruins. Just then, the leader Wei called up to him. "What did you find?" Zhuo shouted, "Wow!" They asked, "What did you see?" He replied, "Lots of trees. Come see." The leader nearly lost his mind. Zhuo said to him, "Come enjoy the stunning natural scenery." The leader collapsed to the ground, cursing him. Zhuo climbed down and said, "Night is approaching. Let's find a good place to camp." But the leader and the team completely ignored him. Seeing this, Zhuo turned back and looked toward the tree to scout the area again. Then he walked over to the nearby grass and began searching until he found an animal's skeleton. He panicked and called out to the leader to come see it. But the leader replied, "I'm sure you just want to show me more scenery, right?" Zhuo thought to himself, "Suit yourself. If you don't want to see it, that's your call." And the team continued their exploration. At night, Shu was walking behind the group until they reached a wide open area. The commander then said, "Let's keep moving until we meet our comrades in the timberlands." But suddenly, some grape-like points appeared in front of Shu. He stopped, opened his mouth and said, "I think it would be better to camp here in this open area. I just saw the bones of a beast under that tree. And besides, the trees here in the timberlands are unlike ordinary ones. I feel there's something strange about them. I won't keep going." The commander responded coldly, "Listen, Shu, don't be so alarmist." Shu insisted, "I know some of my recent actions made you lose trust in me, but this time, I'm serious. I hope you stay here." The commander thanked Shu for the warning but replied, "I think you're exaggerating a little. What matters now is rejoining our comrades as soon as possible, not wasting time here." He then ordered them to move on. Before they left, Shu said, "Take care of yourselves, and if anything happens, run back here immediately." After they departed, Shu thought of his sister Lu and wondered, "I wonder what she's doing now." Meanwhile, Lu was walking through the forest when she encountered a group of animals, including a tiger that tried to intimidate her. But she held her ground, gripped her face with confidence, and scared him instead. Suddenly, the earth beneath them trembled, and the animals panicked. The cause was Magi, a giant wild boar that approached Lu and roared in her face. She didn't flinch and remained firm. Then, she summoned the corpse of the laughing criminal to fight the boar. As for Shu, he was camping near the fire and eating, when he began noticing glowing points appearing around him without knowing where they came from. He then realized Lu had sent them and felt reassured. He had been wrong to worry about her. She was more than capable of protecting herself. However, what worried him now were the small animals surrounding him, acting increasingly aggressive. All the animals began gathering around the fire. Meanwhile, the trees of the timberlands started to move in strange ways and emitted unnatural lights until their branches reached out and seized one of the animals. At the same time, the commander's team continued walking through the forest when the surrounding trees began to emit a similar eerie light and grabbed one of the students. The commander rushed forward and sliced the branches with his sword, but more students were attacked and began screaming for help. The commander quickly realized the situation had spiraled out of control. Back at Shu's camp, animals surrounded him as he sat by the fire. He was deep in thought about the trees that attacked creatures at night. He decided to use the open space as a refuge for the wild animals. He stood before the tiger, and when it lunged at him, he landed a punch squarely on its face. The rest of the animals prepared to attack, but Shu drew his spear and began fending them off fiercely until fear spread through their hearts and they started fleeing. He chased after them wildly, joyfully collecting points from each one. He chased them until they were worn out, managing to trap them in a corner. They looked pitiful. He jokingly said, "Don't be afraid. I'm just a dentist. I'm here to check your teeth." Meanwhile, the commander's team continued fleeing from the attacking tree branches. Eventually, they heard voices nearby. The commander called out for help, and they ran toward the source, reaching a teacher accompanied by a group of students. The teacher said, "We need a clear area to camp until morning. We passed by an open area earlier, but it was full of wild animals. We couldn't stay there." Commander Wei asked, "Don't you know of a suitable place for us to camp tonight?" Wei then regretted not listening to Shu and told the teacher, "I know an open area." They all rushed and finally arrived at Shu's campfire, only to find him busy pulling out a decayed tooth from an animal, while the rest stood in line waiting their turn. The commander and his team were baffled and certain that Shu must be insane. The commander called out, "What on earth are you doing?" Shu replied with surprise, "I'm pulling out rotten teeth so they won't die from them." He then reached into the mouth of a small leopard and extracted a tooth, saying, "I'm worried this little one might die because of that tooth." The students couldn't make sense of it until the teacher approached, greeted Shu, and said, "The forest is extremely dangerous at night. We've come to camp with you. Don't worry, we'll help you kill these animals." Shu became angry and snapped, "These animals are innocent. Why would you kill them? I'm just examining their teeth for their own good." Then, he took some points from the teacher. The teacher asked, "What if these animals attack us while we're sleeping?" Shu looked at the animals and they all shivered and nodded their heads as if to say, "We won't attack." So, the teacher informed his students they'd camp there for the night. Wei sat beside Shu and apologized for not listening to his advice. Shu smiled and said, "Apologize for what? You're the one who got hurt, not me." Wei left, and the teacher asked Shu, "What do you think about joining us tomorrow?" Shu replied, I have important things I need to take care of. I suggest you join the other groups as soon as possible. Every night, find an open area to sleep in. The teacher was puzzled and asked, "You'll walk alone in the forest? You should stay with us. At least if you face danger, we can help you." But Shu remained silent, then stood up and went to sleep. The next morning, the teacher and students woke up. The teacher felt like he hadn't slept well and began looking for Shu, but he was nowhere to be found. One student was about to brush his teeth and had put toothpaste on his brush, but the teacher stopped him and said, "Don't waste the water, it could run out and we'd all die. Conserve it until we find a reliable source." He then thought to himself, "If we had killed a few animals last night, we'd have enough food now, but Shu wouldn't let us." Suddenly, he felt a strange movement behind the bushes. The ground trembled beneath them. He quickly alerted the students, drew his sword, and told them to prepare for battle. A group of animals appeared, walking in a single line toward them, led by the giant wild boar, Magi, with Lu riding on its back. The teacher and students were stunned. He asked in shock, "Who are you?" She answered, "I am Lu, beast tamer. I have a question. Have you seen a tall young man, about this height, named Shu?" As for Shu, he sneezed in a faraway place while walking, as if he could feel someone talking about him. The teacher pointed to the path Shu had taken, and Lu was overjoyed. She would finally be able to see him again. She took off with her animals in search of him. And with that, the second season of Shu's tale comes to an end. If you'd like to see the third and final season, let us know in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel to stay updated with new videos, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss a single episode. Hit the like button to show your love for this story. We'll see you in the next video. Take care.